Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Jab step from Doncic, shot clock at 10. Poked away McDaniels. Luka gets it back with 7 to shoot. Penetrates right side, puts up a fall away that's good from the right wing from 15 feet.
Now to Bennett, has some room. Bennett to center, long shot on the empty net. He scores. Sam Bennett from the neutral zone. It's 3-0 Panthers.
He does get the start against the lefty Wagner tonight, and he goes first pitch attacking and into the game with a hit on the ambush. And Nebraska's tied the score. Throw at third is not in time. Carey Hook slides his way in. Batting right, Joshua Overbeek. No motion. Overbeek pummels it to center. Kornblum racing back and cannot get there. Silva on his horse. He's headed to the plate. And the Nebraska Bats have come alive in the Big Ten tournament. And he drills this ball to deep left, out toward the spot he hit a home run last year. And Swanson leads off another inning with a bang. Open for some late life. And Kornblum down swinging. A master class of pitching for Nebraska to survive in the elimination game of the Big Ten tournament. Coach described you as stoic. Why'd you let the emotions fly after?
I mean, just want to win. I mean, whatever it takes to win.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, where we're also just trying to do whatever we need to win.
I like that. I like that.
I like a lot.
Yes, indeed. How we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you this morning?
Well, I'll let you know in about 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, it won't be morning anymore at that point.
Yeah, well,
5 hours. That's 12:01, baby.
Well, give me the 4. What's wrong with you?
I'm rounding up.
I gave you some wiggle room.
Yeah, and I took it away.
Wiggle. Do.
So that's what we're on this morning.
No, I mean, listen, you know how it goes. I try to. I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I don't believe in having ho-hum mornings.
Okay.
I'm trying to go get the day, man.
Yeah.
Every day, I'm trying to go get the day.
You're like Coach Rule and the recruiting staff. No pauses. Just keep going.
Yeah, no pauses. Hey, man. But listen, though,
I do like to rest.
I do it. Hey,
What's happening?
See, the beautiful thing about all these people getting to share, and they're not going to brag on themselves, but at least they give us some conversational points for what I've been saying for like the last 6 months, because those conversations are no fun to have because nobody else knows but the people that they're directly dealing with, which isn't 99% of the fan base. Right. Because that's just not what they do. So I'm tickled. But I got to tell you, man, you're too old to be eating Rice Krispie treats at 7 o'clock in the morning.
If your mom,
listen,
if your mom makes you Rice Krispies, you're never
no,
too
that's
old
cute.
To eat them.
That's cute. Like I'm with it. And my mom held my hand yesterday for probably 30 minutes. So I get being a mama's boy.
Yeah, what
right? I had to take her around. She is bone on bone.
I'm okay. On her knee?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not real squeamish normally.
Okay.
But we were out at the doctor yesterday afternoon, and by the way, her car is a 2013.
Okay.
26,839 when I pulled that thing in.
Oh my goodness.
26,839
on an 11-year-old car.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's hard to do.
It's bone on bone. And when I looked at the X-rays with the doctor, who by the way was a pretty gentle spirit, he was cool. Although you could tell he was in a hurry. I was like, oh, I thought like you're tougher. You're actually tougher than I thought. I thought you were kind of just, not.
Thought she was just complaining about her knee.
Well, I mean, so that's like the second time in 9 months I've taken her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, and it was so depressing. She said, I just think I'm too old to waste your guys' time on surgery for a knee replacement. Oof. I go, wash your mouth out, young lady. No, but like when I looked at the X-rays, I had to get up and walk around the.
You need
the
a second?
Yeah, because how many X-rays do you think I've seen? Probably 200.
I would say, yeah, a lot.
A lot,
yeah.
right? So I was like,
you didn't like that one?
Zero.
No cartilage.
No, and it's compressing too, so it's kind of pushing out.
It's getting worse a little bit.
Yeah. So
I felt like I could suit up and go play for him.
Nah, you get
Not with
ran,
that.
you get ran over.
Not with that knee.
And she gets shook in the hole too. She's got no lateral move. She'd be like,
Are you kidding me?
ski skirt. Housing that thing like Minnesota trying to stay in front of Doncic last night.
Yeah. They didn't do that.
I know we'll get to that, but you're too old to be eating Rice Krispie treats in the morning like that. But I do think it's cute because I know the relationship between you and your mom.
Never too
You got
old.
the Ziploc bag,
Yeah.
the extra large Rice Krispie treat. That's cute, man.
It's never too old to eat Rice Krispie treats from your mom.
And you're the youngest, correct?
Yeah.
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 You it took me about 47 years to grow out of the tendencies, but you got some time. I can tell you're the mama's baby.
Got a little leeway still?
Man, you got some gray. I was still an idiot at your age, so you're way ahead of me.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty dumb through 30.
Oh, no. Well, you should catch my act between like 05 and 12. Woo. 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 I'm just telling you.
You like a kid? You tough hang?
Hey, who said
Tough hang?
No, I was fun.
That was a problem?
Yeah, 100%. But man, I look better every day because I got the better end of that deal. I'm just saying. Ask around. Surprise, surprise. Shane.
Surprise, surprise.
I have a question before we get started with the show because I am going to let you get the lineup out first before we just filibuster. We just talk Bills down to death. What happened to you bringing? By the way, good morning. We're live from Pillar Exterior Studio. Welcome on ESPN 590 and ESPN Tri-Cities.
I did all that.
Ditto.
I mean, never hurts to let them know.
Hey, here we go. What happened to you bringing your knapsack backpack / scaling Kilimanjaro backpack with all the food and snacks and drinks and stuff? Like
you asked me the same question last year, Eric.
I probably did, to be honest. But like, what happened? So what are we into right now? Are we doing?
No, I've got the snacks. They're in my backpack.
They're still in there?
Yeah.
Okay, Dora. And are we doing what's the flavor for the Red Bull? What do we got today?
Or is it Mountain Dew today?
No, it's Red Bull.
Yeah,
Okay.
he ain't been messing with Mountain Dew too much.
Elderflower.
I'm sorry, who?
Elderflower.
Lee
Elder?
Did you know he played at Augusta before Tiger?
Yes.
Okay.
You bringing up some old school stuff.
Actually, Calvin Peake played there in the 80s. Did you know that?
Yeah. Do you know John Elder? You ever heard of that? Ever heard of him?
I don't know John Elder. I do know Lee Elder.
Yeah, there's an Elder for the Braves that
I also know
got lit up a couple nights ago.
Lee Westwood.
Couldn't get out of the first inning. Are we into Lees like Lee Majors?
Major League? No, it's Major League.
Yeah. What the? Did you ever? Were you? You're way too young, but there are reruns. Did you get into the $6 Million Man?
No.
Fall Guy.
No.
You didn't want a big brown truck with
You missed out.
like floodlights?
No.
Shane, those are called floodlights, right? The big ones that you put on a truck?
Absolutely.
I'm not really a truck guy.
I'd like to be, but I'm not cool enough.
It's not my vibe.
I wish so. I mean, full disclosure, that's like one of those weird obsessions I have.
Having a truck?
I'd like to
Didn't
have.
you used to have one?
No.
I thought you did have a truck at one
I
point.
went through Cherokees and then these stupid Atlases. But I demoed a truck for a while. I had a Silverado.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
And all I did was take pictures of myself not being able to park it. That's funny, huh, Shane?
You know,
the dude. Yeah. The dude that literally sits on a phone book is making fun of the little guy that couldn't drive the truck.
I test drove a
It's
truck
a heated
recently.
pad.
Whatever you call that thing.
I test drove a truck recently. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I really like them.
I've done it a couple times, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not for me.
And the closer I get to being an empty nester, and I'll even count just so, because like,
yeah, you can throw
whatever.
one. You can throw one in a truck,
right?
Yeah.
It's tempting, but everything's so expensive now.
So here's my problem: is I need something with a tow hitch.
Oh, for the boat.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually.
Okay.
For the boat.
First world problems.
It is a first world. I'm not pretending like we're starving like world hunger over here, but I do need something with a trailer hitch, and
Truck would work for that.
yeah, but then it doesn't work for anything else
You
because I
can
don't
put a lot of gear in the back of the truck.
don't want it to be like my
Rafts.
daily drive. I don't know who's taking rafts. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying,
Who's doing rafts?
whatever it is that you take on your boat with you. You can put beer back there. You could put if you're gonna be doing the camping thing afterwards.
No one's camping.
You could put all. I know.
Look at the two of us.
Yeah.
No one up here is camping.
Yeah, the only time I'm doing that is when our players are out for team bonding in the summer, and it's one night, and I sleep sitting up.
I'm not about that life.
I don't think I am either. Yeah. If it was colder, maybe it's not even really being outside. I need to sleep cool.
I need to not have just a track jacket amount of material between me and the outside world when I'm asleep. No, hear me out here, okay? I have a whole thing.
You've clearly thought about this.
Listen, I'm not sleeping anywhere where there is not a locked door between me and the rest of the world.
I am old.
Full stop.
With me, it would be about showering, but I could fix that.
Yeah, you can figure that out. You can't figure out the fact that you are
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
I'm not sleeping in a place where it's a trash baggie between me and the world.
You can take a cot with you. I mean, it'll fit right in the back of the truck.
That doesn't
fit right back in the back of the truck.
Did you hear what he had to say?
No, he's on delay, remember?
No, I just think he's not listening. That's
that's
not about delay.
That's fair.
He doesn't want to be accessible to the outside.
Yeah.
That's basically what he's saying.
I'll sleep in a cabin. That's fine.
It's ridiculous.
I'll do a cabin.
They got some nice cabins.
They do. If you had I'm a little iffy on RVs and campers. That's
no, I want one of those.
That's I'd give it a try because I haven't done that, but we'll give
there's a name for them. My buddy Kevin tells me about them all the time. It's a Shane. What's the ones that attach to your truck that aren't part of the
pull behind?
Caravan.
You're an idiot. Why did I ask you, Shane? It's
the pull behind.
A something wheeler, a two-wheeler.
Oh, a three-wheeler.
No. Is it a pull behind?
I think it's a pull behind. They're called pull behind trailers.
I don't think that's what he calls it.
They're not like RVs because you're not driving them, right? You just hook it up to your car.
I hate to be confused this early in the morning, but that's not what they're called.
I call it a pull behind. But yeah, I'm iffy on.
Why would I ask a guy that doesn't even sleep outside?
I mean, good luck finding somebody around here that does sleep outside on purpose.
I have to voice text. One moment, please.
What
do you call those things that you pull behind your truck that you sleep in? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying I've worked most of my life to make sure that I don't end up sleeping outside.
Fifth wheel.
That's
it, man. See, and I didn't even have to hit send.
Oh, he's just listening?
He's a G.
Appreciate you, whoever that is.
We can just call him.
Hello, friend.
Just call him Kevin.
All right, Kev.
I don't know if anybody calls him. He doesn't seem like a Kev.
Oh, I don't know him, so we're going with Kev for now. Until I meet him and learn otherwise.
Nah, I think he's a Kevin.
I don't know him.
But I'm just telling you, his person, he's a caregiver. So it's like, oh, hey, Kev. Nah, he's a Kevin.
Does anybody call Coach Rule Matthew or Maddie?
Maybe his mom or dad.
Okay.
I can't see that.
You can't see somebody be like, what up, Matty Rule?
No, but the guy, Sean Padden, the guy we're talking to at 8, he calls him Matt.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I should call Sean.
You could call him Mr. Padden?
No.
GM Padden?
What do I call him? Nothing. I just talked to him.
Patty?
That's. Ooh, I almost got canceled. Wow.
You got to be careful here.
I don't know what's wrong with me. No, I don't. No, I don't. Why would I? Patty? No. I don't. I think you reach a certain age, not to gender stereotype, but I'm going to gender stereotype at risk of Bill, Chris, or Sasha hitting me up. I just think you reach a certain age where you lose the E unless that's what you want to be called.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
At some point, Tommy becomes Tom. Although Frazier, that will never happen. So I'll just continue to say T phrase. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? You
Billy.
Yeah, you just could you imagine us calling Bill Billy?
No, but that's again a personality thing. There's adults I would call Billy.
Really?
Yeah. Like Billy, I don't think is that weird. I will say Tommy seems a little more.
What about Teddy? I always joke with Rezak. Like,
I mean, you got Roosevelt.
At some point, like when I go to work for him when I want to retire, will I call him Ted?
Theodore.
I call him so that's kind of my when I'm not happy with him.
Yeah, like passive aggressive.
I'll go Theo.
Theodore.
But yeah, otherwise he's just Teddy 2-5.
I think
whatever he's gonna wear at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. Like
he's definitely not a Kev.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, he made it distinguished because of how he carried himself.
Rode that thing the whole way. He's ready to go.
It wasn't a long time, just saying.
No, Teddy didn't get assassinated.
I didn't say that, but he didn't live to be old.
I mean, relatively old for the time.
Here we go.
He did get shot, though.
Hey, nice work last night, Glasnow.
We are talking to Nebraska GM Sean Padden at 8.
Did I just call him GM?
I think, sir. Mister, I don't know. What do you want? I mean, if you're not going to call him Sean,
I might. I don't know. I'm probably not going to bring him in to introduce him. So
I'm going to go first name, last name there.
Sean Padden.
Yeah.
As long as Shane stops saying Patton, it's D's.
D.
2 D's.
D.
By the way, Kevin, he said fifth wheel. The hitch is in the truck bed. Travel trailers pull the hitch from the bump. Yeah. So see, this is what I want.
So fifth wheels are different because there's like they attach inside the bed.
Yeah.
Then the pull behinds are a thing.
And believe me, they like go to camper shows.
Yeah.
So
No, I know. I've seen them. I know exactly what he's talking about.
You can get caravans. They're like $18,000.
Like a Dodge Caravan?
I mean,
what are you talking about?
I'm looking at them online right now.
We'll talk to Brian Edwards at 8:45, Vegas Insider.
He's supposed to be at Caleb's graduation, but I think they're going to Okoboji, and I was like, shoot, I'd rather be with my family too.
Who?
Oh wait, I kind of am.
Who's going to Okoboji?
Kevin.
Kev?
Yeah. No, that's not his. You're an idiot. And his wife could probably whip you too. So
that's fine.
I would be careful.
I don't know either of them.
Oh, you will? No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think he's coming, but
See?
you'd meet him. I'd introduce you.
That's what I mean, though. You know, I don't know him. I can call him whatever I want.
I think Severe's bringing his mom, so my mom will have company.
Yeah.
Are you gonna bring your mom? You can bring your mom.
You want me to bring my mom?
Yeah, do what you want.
We'll see what we'll do.
It's a free. Listen, he's already at school. I couldn't care less what happens from here on out. I'm dead serious.
She's all smooth sailing from
everybody.
here.
I mean, people running around making stuff and doing. It's gonna be like a cool setup.
Little get together.
It's just I'm over my head.
I work hard at school.
I have no idea what is going on.
Like Nelly and Tim McGraw.
I'm just trying to
I don't know.
move stuff over here and this beautiful pillar exterior stage. And that's it. I'm done.
That's all we're trying to do.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
You have no idea how fast I want this over.
What, you mean you in a room with a bunch of people? Like, no, that seems right up your alley.
Just the whole setup. I've seen roughly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 400 pictures.
Mm.
Do you know how much I like pictures?
Huge.
Do you know how much I like taking pictures?
Huge fan.
Yeah, it's my thing.
You could tell by.
So why wouldn't I just sit down and want to critique 10,000 of them?
You could tell by the dozens of photos of you and I together.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Despite the fact that I spend more time with you than anyone else in my life.
It ain't happening.
I'm gonna do it when you're not looking. I'm just gonna do one of these, get a little new profile pic.
That's weird, and I'll talk about it if it turns out to be public.
That's no big deal.
You talk about me no matter what.
I do, but I haven't, not negatively
yet.
So who asked me the other day? Where was I? Was I at the Chuck? I was somewhere, and somebody asked me, "How's Ravi?" And I said exactly like he sounds. Who was
this is
that?
pretty genuinely who I am.
Yeah, I can't. I was in public somewhere. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Felt like a moving target.
I know you hate that.
No, it was cool. I was. It's fine.
We got a little busy sports action though.
I know there was so much going on, and I had to start over after the Nebraska game because we had our parents meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But which was well attended. I love our staff.
Mm-hmm.
I like them a lot. We are pretty close, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's
a lot of parents.
Yeah,
which is fine. I like so.
Well,
Coach,
you want him to be involved.
So Coach
right?
Samanji, like the last 2-3 meetings, does not open the floor for the other coaches to talk.
Okay.
He's. I want them out of here at 7:30. They're going to be out here at 7:30. So really, the only two people that get to talk are he and Coach Sikora. And Coach Sikora goes because he is basically the only one that knows what he's doing in the weight room and nutrition. So we defer to the expert.
Go ahead, bud.
We have a staff meeting tonight, and he and I are like trying to figure out what we're going to do while the others eat their food.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
I'm like, dang, should we bring him up for everybody or just us? But I like his style. He's like, oh, man, they're eating pizza. Who cares?
Fair point.
So would you be okay, I'm going to get this and we'll get to sports, I swear.
Maybe.
If somebody is providing food and you don't eat it like you're supposed to, is it offensive?
If I'm the one providing the food and
so
someone does that?
Yeah, so let's say
I've got
Coach Samanji asked everybody, hey,
okay,
well, what kind of pizzas do you want? And he kind of rolled his eyes. He's like, oh my gosh, I got a vegan, I got a caveman, I got another caveman. And so like if we just went there and like ate the tops off of pizza, would you be like, I can't believe I'm wasting this money on you?
No, as long as everybody else had enough to eat, I'd be fine with it.
Okay, as long as we're not wasting.
Yeah, as long as it's not like I'm taking tops off pizzas, but other people don't have anything. You know what I mean?
No, I tried that with the meatballs and I got vilified.
No, it wasn't the timing of the meatballs.
It was too. I didn't want the food to go to waste.
For me, it wasn't the timing.
Ask
of the
Padden.
meatballs.
He can vouch for me.
I mean, we will. I'll be like, you ever seen a grown man wipe off meatballs with a napkin before?
No.
Don't frame the question like that.
Well, you keep asking why it's funny to me. And
I didn't want the food to go to waste.
It's because I always think about it.
You're an idiot.
I know. The way I frame questions, though, is because that's how my head processes things.
It's because that's what you want people to do. Take shots.
No, it's because my mind processes it in a way that's funny to me.
My mind's telling me no.
My mind's telling me no. Don't wipe off those meatballs with that napkin.
You're a grade A idiot. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm over it. Kind of.
It seems
That's
like
fine.
It seems like you're very over it.
Yeah, whatever.
It wasn't pretty.
Whatever, man.
I didn't listen.
Don't put that crap on me.
I won't, Tim, because I know you'd let me eat what the heck I want to.
Listen, I'm gonna let you eat whatever you want to. That doesn't reserve the right, or that doesn't like prevent me from making fun of you for it.
Right, says the guy that's eating an enlarged Rice Krispie treat at 6:50 in the morning.
Yeah, no, it's 7:22.
No, when'd you first bite into it?
6:55.
Now we got another.
I really got to be careful on what I say about
I know,
that,
Coach
so.
Soyberg. Let's just hope you get the guy from UCLA.
I mean, at any
Thank you,
point
guys.
have I been like, don't make fun of me for my Rice Krispie? I'm like, no, I get it's childish. I just don't care.
All right. I just got bad news from my head coach.
Uh-oh.
Anyway.
We don't like that.
Friday night games, man. I got to navigate.
Like Lincoln Navigator?
Yes. I would never get one of those.
I'm not a Lincoln Navigator fan.
The residual was bad. That's why they stopped doing those things.
My wife likes, there's a certain color of the Navigators. It's like a light blue that she's obsessed with.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, we're not buying a Navigator. Like, if I'm spending that kind of money, I'm getting like a Range Rover or a Wagoneer. I'm sorry.
Understood.
It's not happening. Coming up, we will probably talk about sports at some point. Nebraska baseball still alive.
Yes, they are in an impressive fashion.
We will get to that and more coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Man, it's great being back. It really is. It meant a lot. I got an opportunity. Vince actually brought me back here, gave me that opportunity to kind of start in an assistant role and work my way up. I love Nebraska. I really do. I remember being in high school, having all these offers, and having Vince and a couple other staffs coming in my home. And basically, three things that stuck out was academics, and Dennis LeBlanc's the best in the country. Tradition, I'm a big tradition guy when it comes to sellouts, when it comes to the academic excellence, when it comes to the black shirts, the pipeline. I'm really big in that. And then also the brand of football that Nebraska stands for, that end.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. That was Keith Williams on the press conference yesterday, which we'll get to here in a second. But first, I wanted to make sure we got to Nebraska baseball. Staying alive yesterday.
John Travolta.
Is that Saturday Night Fever?
I have no idea. Something like that. I get them all confused.
Is that right, Shane?
You know he doesn't know.
John Travolta? Oh, I'm all about the Bee Gees.
Well, Staying Alive is the Bee Gees.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm all about the Bee Gees.
I don't think it is John Travolta. I think it's the Bee Gees.
Wasn't that from the movie John Travolta was in?
Yeah.
What movie is that?
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
I'm so confused now.
Staying Alive was Stallone.
That's a song by, if you want to change genres,
Yeah.
that's a song by Tevin Campbell. I'm so
So do you-
confused about the way I feel.
So do you call him Tev?
You're an idiot.
I'm childish.
Yeah, you are. Enjoy your Rice Krispie treats.
It's delicious, man. I'm having a good time over here.
Yeah.
Hey,
what's up, bud?
I am doing some good things. Not as good of things as Brett Sears and Drew Christo did yesterday.
No, I know.
They had a nice little 1-2 combo there.
So Christo is on a little bit of a heater, huh?
He's pitched well the last few outings.
And that's right, because I asked Nebraska's got a great baseball SID. I asked Jared Meester for some splits for Christo because I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the left-handed versus left-handed pitchers, and I wanted Christo's splits. And so, given his last 2.5 outings, okay, I'm going to have to find this because this is staggering how he has turned it around in a hurry.
Were you at all? This is mostly not important because of how things turned out, but were you at all kind of frustrated by the hit batter?
Yeah, a little.
The dude just like
I don't. So, did you see the first game? Like, guys would get plunked, and it's a very fine line between whether you're getting out of the way or not.
Like, there's a difference between not getting out of the way,
and they'll make you stay in the box if you don't make a quote unquote attempt.
Yeah, and this guy literally went out of his way to get hit by the ball.
No, I know. So I asked,
because colleges, like, they won't do it in the major leagues. Really.
No, you'll get.
But in college,
yeah,
they will. They'll be like, no, you're staying here.
Yeah. And I've seen it in the majors is tough because they've mastered the art of getting out of the way of the pitch. But I asked Jared for Drew's last 9 appearances. 9. I just wanted to go back a ways to give myself a frame of reference.
Okay.
Because I got a good buddy who's super hard on him.
I mean, he struggled at times.
Every time he pitches, he texts me the same thing. He goes, Christo ain't it. Christo ain't it.
He was yesterday.
We like last couple of outings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me just quantify like getting hot at the right time. So in his last 9 appearances, 9.
Yep.
So that's 7 more than the last 2 times you saw him, which was when he gas canned Indiana and put the fire out last night.
Yeah.
This is how quickly he's turned it around. His last 9 appearances, 14 hits, 13 runs, 13 earned runs, 7 bases on balls, 23 Ks.
How many innings is that?
What was his last 9 appearances? So roughly 20 innings. That's not very. That was eye-popping when he sent it to me.
It's a lot of earned runs.
I was like,
in
no
20 innings
way.
or 9 appearances. Yeah.
But it further lets me know that he's getting ready at the right time.
Yeah.
And how about how he's pitching with confidence? You see how he came out of the bully on the weekend? I thought it was like Rick Vaughn. No,
going full wild thing on you.
So he was like, he was like,
yeah.
And then they like dapped him up when he came out of the cage, and he kind of trotted on, and he's got that little thin wispy cookie duster. And then last night he put out the fire. Then last night I'm like. So what I like why I really wanted to know, why I asked Jared, thank you, shout out Jared for being one of the greatest. Our SIDs around here are incredible. But anyway, his ability to stay dialed, even though it hasn't always been, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, it's compromise.
All right, Maroon 5.
What's his name?
Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not my guy, but I just had to get that out.
Seems like he is your guy.
He's great on SNL.
Who?
He was a great host on SNL.
He hosted SNL?
Yeah.
I haven't watched that show in probably 20 years.
I see clips on my TikTok a lot.
Yeah, I get the clips where the white guy asks the white guy the questions.
Yeah, those are funny. I like those.
Yeah.
Colin Yost and Michael Che when they're doing the
okay.
That's the dude's names.
All right, but I wouldn't know.
Well, I'm telling you. That's why I'm letting you know.
Oh, thanks. I won't commit that to memory.
Educate. Yeah, you will.
Michael Che and Colin Yang.
Yost.
Yost.
He's married to Scarlett Johansson. Calling Yost is.
That's the witch, right, Shane?
Nope.
No.
That's
Black
Scarlet Witch.
Black Widow.
Black Widow is Scarlett Johansson.
Thank you, Shane. I'm not counting on you this morning.
Why not?
Because we're not really vibing.
I'm fine.
It didn't sit right with the Rice Krispie treats. But anyway.
That seems like a personal problem. Are you just mad your mom doesn't make them for you anymore?
She would if I asked.
I'll go. You want me to go to Mama Rose and be like, hey, DB needs some Rice Krispie treats.
She paid $4.99 a pound for cherries yesterday.
I have no frame of reference if that's a lot or a not.
Bruh, those would stay in the store.
Okay. I'll be honest.
She loves cherries, and they
cherries?
are good for you.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, I can't remember how she worded. Oh, they're cheap right now." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So she stayed in the car because it was after her injection, and I didn't want her to walk, so I went to the grocery store. And when the lady rang him up, it was like $18.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I thought she said these were $4.99. Oh, she meant a pound.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made that mistake like 6 years ago with cotton candy grapes.
Those things are those the huge ones?
Yeah, and they taste like cotton candy.
Yeah.
And I got stuck in line, and the bill was like $23, and I wanted to like worm my way out because I was like, "Ooh, cotton candy grapes! They're only whatever they were."
I'm not paying $20 for grapes.
I didn't read. They put the per pounds in small print.
About this big.
Yeah. So anyway, when I was watching Nebraska pitch and kind of the outing and whatever in the world is going on with Purdue, I mean that was a gem
between Sears and Christo.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you're talking 5. It turned out to 18 in a row. They retired.
I think so. It was 6 total base runners over 9 innings.
Only 2 hits.
Only 2 hits, 2 walks, a hit by bat or a hit batsman.
I know the one that is Drew or Iyer.
Yeah, that was like if that happened in the major leagues, I wouldn't have thought twice because they just don't make that call very often. Mm-hmm. But I know they make that call in college baseball, and it wasn't even just like, oh, I didn't get out of the way. He threw his hand at the ball.
I know. And with the mics that are so close, because the crowd wasn't super loud at the time, you could hear the little.
Like, what are we doing? Like, I know it doesn't matter. You got through everything, like 3 innings, 4 strikeouts, no other base runners. I get that it doesn't matter. It really bothered me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It was annoying.
That's just weird to let that thing. Oh man, Coach Huffman is on board
with Kev.
Bless his heart.
With what?
I hope. I can read this without him being mad.
I know what you're talking about.
This is my dude, right?
Yeah.
He said, "Imagine our Week 4 game will be moved to Thursday because of Nebraska's game Friday?" Question mark. I hope so, but I don't know if my coach wants another Thursday game. But does he want me to coach?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't either.
I might have to beg. TLC.
Making me beg?
I ain't too proud to beg. Hey.
You big TLC guy?
I am a.
Is that Lisa Left Eye?
I'm not a her fan.
But she was in that. That's
all right. R.I.P. By the way. I was a Chili fan.
Okay.
Yeah, Chili was the real deal. Go ahead and feel free to Google.
I don't listen. TLC was like a little before my time.
Yeah.
Like Destiny's Child was more my. I wasn't a huge fan, but that was like more my time frame.
A little too ethnic for you.
What's that even supposed to mean? Not out here listening to Spice Girls.
I'm sorry. Back to Big Ten baseball today.
I'm brown.
So Iowa goes to X.
I'm brown too, man.
It's different.
I get that, but still. You're not up here talking with Uncle Cracker or anything. Like, what are we doing?
Follow me, something.
Everything will be all right.
That's Uncle Cracker, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. See, I got it.
I'll be the one that tucks you in at night.
I got crossover. But anyway, so it does reset their pitching rotation.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
It's huge because I mean, we'll see how smart he looks, but you're still in an elimination deal. So, but your rotation is intact. Like you have some arms that you can go to because this is apparently going to be a marathon.
Yeah, and the day off today helps them a lot.
Oh, 100%. Because that thing will get started at
Now their bullpen's set for tomorrow, 2 p.m. start.
Yep.
Like that's a big day. Yesterday, getting through it with 2 guys was huge for them.
Huge. Can we forget about 15-2, or are you going to still bring that up?
I didn't bring it up hardly yesterday. Like, it was a bad look, but, I mean, it is what it is. You got to go.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I don't even recognize what we're doing. That's DB.
It gets a little squirrely.
I'm Ravi Lulla. I'm going to eat this Rice Krispie during the break here. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I think the other thing that stands out about our facility is I think it becomes very obvious that it was designed for players. It wasn't designed for coaches to have really cool offices or to be something that it wasn't. It was designed for players. Our recovery area is unbelievable, and the resources that we put into taking care of student athletes and making their experience better and increasing their production because of it. And I think that becomes apparent when they walk around.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We'll be talking to Nebraska football GM Sean Padden here in just about 15 minutes. Kickoff hour number 2.
You know what's funny about adjusting?
What's that?
So when I was talking to him yesterday, I was like, we kind of thought we had this on lock. Because a couple of messages came through late. He's like, hey, shoot, sorry, I was on a plane. I thought these messages went through. Didn't mean to leave you hanging. I was like, oh, no, we're cool, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so the day before, which would have been Tuesday, we had some tentative times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I told you guys, hey, let's try to do, we'll get Dom on this day and we'll do whatever. And he said yesterday, hey, on second thought, change the plan. Coaches called a staff meeting for 9 a.m. on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, do you know what I was thinking?
What's that?
ABR. Always be ready.
Mm.
right? You just you think you have some allotted time, but if something comes up or you're just on standby.
Yeah, always.
Right? Like that's just how he's kind of groomed that culture, right? You want a couple of guys to come in early, unexpected. Everybody better rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Right. You better get academics on board. You better get onboarding staff on board.
Yeah.
You better you got to get the suites on board. Like
that's not a one person lift.
No.
Yeah.
But remember I used it with the youth camp. That's just how it goes. Like figure it out.
Well,
I'm not going to be unorganized, but what you need to understand is something could always come up and it may never be easy, but we got to figure it out.
Well, what was it, Keith talking yesterday about the coaches clinic, right?
See, he gave context to what I was talking about, didn't he?
You know, you were talking about how they left that thing open till the last minute. And he was just like, hey, they're gonna have to figure it out. And apparently Keith was the one in charge of making sure they figured that out.
So I think he's what
a big Keith fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just watched him. I watched him that whole couple of weeks at practice, and I talked to him, and I didn't say him by name at the time, but I was like, hey, then we got a guy that he's leaving a coach's clinic at midnight and turning around and coming back at 4 to get or a practice and that day in that schedule, and then turning around at 4 to get back. When I saw him that morning at practice, I was like, hey man, you good? He's like, man, I was in my house for about 4 hours last night. Cut me some slack because I was messing with him about not being a man of few words.
Yeah,
because he doesn't talk a ton. He's fantastic with players, but he just he's not like a hey look at me guy, which is he's just cool, right? But I was trying to give. I talked about admitting bites. I was talking about it with you. Like I was trying to give how stressful that would be context without actually being in it.
Yeah,
that would be like you preparing for a wedding and not knowing how many people are coming.
Yeah, it would be tough. You don't want that.
No, like that's the equivalent, right?
No, I mean, because you got
or Natasha doing a catering event and not having hard numbers.
Yeah, which happens sometimes, and she doesn't love it.
Right? It's like
not her fave.
Yeah, and you have to be ready.
She's got an event. That's a great example. She's got an event that she does every year that is always scheduled for like 1,200 people.
Yeah.
It always ends up being closer to 2,000. And so every year you're like, hey, it's going to be 1,200 this year. They're like, yeah, it's going to be 1,200. And then over the last week, they're like, it's going to be like 1,500. It's going to be like 1,800. It's going to be like 2,000. Right? They leave that thing open until the last minute, and your ability, that's one of the takeaways I got from hearing from the recruit staff yesterday, and from hearing the support staff in general talk over the last few days, is their ability to navigate chaos without becoming chaotic themselves is maybe the most valuable thing out of the support staff.
Okay, so you want a real life example?
Yeah.
Okay, we're that's funny you said that. I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at the suites moving in on Monday. It's probably, I don't know. It's before 10:15 because he had to leave to go back to the stadium. So it's probably 9:45-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And periodically people are stopping in. Hey, how you doing? And we're in like a dorm. They're not dorms, but they're suites. So in like the back room, or there's like a meeting room, there's like coffees, there's Dunkin' Donuts, they're like set up for people to move, right? And even the staff, because when we got there, pulled in at 9:27. We were supposed to be there at 9:30. There's 4 staff, 2 carts. Coach Felder's there. New guys introduced themselves. Hey, can we get you anything? Whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh. And we're walking up. We get off the elevator, and I said, there's something about me, just the way that I was raised. I said, I appreciate you guys being here. I love it. Like your attention to detail. It is so well organized, but we'll kind of probably do this ourselves because I have a hard time. I'm not trying to rob you of your blessing. I'm not. But I feel like without moving heavy furniture, we got to be able to do this. Okay. So then they were just cool, right? Walking, talking, whatever. We're getting the room set up. And, Adam, a couple of coaches stopped in because there aren't any on-campus guys that are there.
Yeah.
Off-campus guys. Some off-campus guys are, but
Mhm.
not very many on-campus guys. Dr. Elza pops in, which was shocking, right? I
Mhm.
mean, he's a bigwig, right? It's like, hey, y'all, what's going on? This happens fast, huh? It's like, I was like, yeah, like this
Yeah,
was
he graduated yesterday.
This was really, really no. It's so people make a big deal about that, and it is for him.
It is,
but not that wasn't the thing for us. For us, it was getting like
phone call Saturday morning
and moving.
Yeah, like the actual logistics of moving,
like
Yeah.
everything, like moving, like pack, like the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she goes, she goes, I got to tell you, we operate in good faith. I know he's a low maintenance kid. I got to stop doing her accent. He's a low maintenance kid. Like, he's chomping at the bit.
It's a pretty good Dr. Elza accent, though.
He told Coop that he was ready to go. So he hadn't confirmed whether he wanted to, when you go back and forth, commute,
yeah,
or stay, like move,
yeah.
But Saturday, he's like, nah, man, let's go. I want to move. So that caught us off guard because that's not what I thought he would say. That's why I sent you the screenshot that I did.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh boy, because I thought we were going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So she says to land the plane, she goes, she said, I told our academic staff, I told our weight room people, I told our onboarding team, like, we're going to operate. This was Saturday morning. She said, we're going to operate as though he'll be here Monday morning. Let's assume the best. And I was like, can you imagine? Because I talked to Coach Felder. Coach Felder didn't know until Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Coggett, Kristen was in Kansas City at a convention. She's taking care of she's doing stuff from Kansas City, sending group texts. She's like, well, this kind of happened fast. And Ravi, no one batted an eye.
Mm-hmm.
They made it seem like I got back on the elevator and I was just thinking for a second. I'm like, well, let's compare it to the storm on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Totally caught off guard. We're scrambling.
Or
it's last
Tuesday.
minute. Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Scrambling. We're last minute. Things are kind of shaking. Like, what was our mood? What was our mindset? Right? Versus how they're doing it and how they just expect to find a way to get it done. Like, it's so last minute. And you got to think there's this little gap between pre-session, summer school, and when your staff is getting a quote-unquote break and you have other staff that's on the road recruiting and you're trying to pull this off. Like, it wasn't an easy lift. And she was just kind of like, this is what we do. This is what we do. We got to know our personnel, and she said we just go with it, right? Like, just another day. I was like, it's incredible. Right? Because it's so much. There's passwords, there's Wi-Fi, there's security, there's like, it's not just like, hey, come on down.
It's not 30 years ago where you just roll into campus and be whatever and you're just there.
No,
right?
It's not. It's
somebody hands you a physical key and you're done.
And just her demeanor made it seem like, oh, it's fine. Like, it'll be okay.
Kind of is what it is.
Which is one of the things I want to ask Padden about. I'm like, how is it that to a person, like, everybody always just feels like, what's next? We got to do it. Because he does a lot of the hiring.
Yeah.
Now, the two guys that we were working with, one of the guys is from EKU or Eastern Kentucky that was helping us. And he was like, I said, oh, so I said, did you interview with Padden? Because I always like to, because I kind of know his personality. So I just want to know, like, what they're looking for. So I'm just taking mental notes, right? He's like, no, man, I was Gus's guy. Gus interviewed me. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, Coach Felder's tough.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's what I wanted. I'm ready to be led. And I'm like, I wonder if you can feel that in interviews.
Well, the other thing that I took away from that is, like, the trust that you have to have in
that people are going to be able to
Coach Felder.
Be caught off guard.
Well, not just that, but like the trust that Padden has to have in Felder to be able to make those decisions without him having to be in the room.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big thing.
That's a good point
as well.
Yeah.
A lot of manager executive types don't really have that personality.
And other people that can seem really controlling are secure enough to let people do their
like
job
Coach Rule.
that you hired.
I would think of him as a control freak, but obviously he delegates quite a bit.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Sean Padden coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
It's the conditions, right? So the conditions are changing. One day you read an article and they're saying you might be capped at 120, or you might be capped at 85. So all of that is very difficult to manage. The most important thing about the whole process is being open and honest with the players, with the athletes. Coach has we're all in meetings as soon as the semester ends. Position coaches are in meetings with players, telling players exactly where they feel they sit in terms of how they most recently acted, and in terms of where they feel and project they're going to perform in the fall.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by the general manager for Nebraska football, Sean Padden. Sean, how are you this morning?
Good morning. Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Well, I'm good. I was joking with our listeners and Ravi. I'm not even sure what I should call you. Sean feels a little uncomfortable. What do I normally say? Do I say coach? Like, what do I say when I talk to you?
Around here, most people say SP.
Okay, SP. Can I say that? Is that cool?
Sure, that's fine.
All right.
Because I'll be honest, it did feel a little uncomfortable just calling you Sean just there. So I'm being real.
Sean's fine.
Hey, it's pretty fluid, man. As you become accustomed to around this place, man. How are you feeling?
I feel great. I think this is a great time of year to kind of be introspective. For me, I'm doing a lot of research projects and studying a lot of things, trying to project some things out. So this is kind of a quiet time. The guys have mostly wrapped up school. They're away. Coaches have just come back off the road, so it's getting a little bit louder around here. But it was really kind of a quiet, introspective time.
It's pretty cool. I never want to. I always say give you up, right? Obviously, we have a good relationship, and I never use your name, but sometimes I'll allude to things that we talk about or that I hear around campus that are pretty profound. And a couple of months ago, we were talking about, or you were talking about, evaluation and self-awareness, and you said something that I told our listeners that I felt like let me know that we're really on the right track with our leadership. Do you remember when you said, we're trying to figure out what we do. We meet after official visits. We meet after this. We meet after that. And we really try to evaluate where we are. And you said sometimes it almost hurts your feelings because you have to be honest with areas that you need to be better. That stuck with me to this day, right? You gotta let us know, like, where that self-awareness, like where that ability to take self-inventory, where that comes from, because it apparently works for you.
I think that you have to just look at what you're talking to the players about. In the end, everything that you're asking the players to do, you have to turn around and ask of yourself. And having a difficult conversation, not being, and I'm not perfect at this, not getting defensive when you've made a particular decision and people feel that wasn't the right thing. You get defensive, but that's the same thing with players. You're out there on the field, a coach makes a correction, and sometimes in the heat of things, the kid will snap back, and you got to kind of, whether it's after the drill or after everything, you got to say, you got to be open to this feedback. You got to make sure that you are listening and that you're hungry for feedback. So that's the only way you can get better. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing when it comes to, holding ourselves accountable. Sometimes it's like, is that the standard we would hold to our players? And a lot of times you're like, yeah, you know what, so I think it comes directly from how we approach our players and them getting better. We have to have the same thing. We have to have the same thick skin when it comes to decisions that we're making in, whether it's events or whether it's on a particular student athlete. You have to be ready for the feedback.
So, Sean, you hit on something that I find really interesting there, right? Because, we talk about accountability and holding each other to a standard, and that all sounds really good. And then the rubber hits the road and people tend to get defensive, like you said. What is the biggest thing you found that works, I guess, kind of disarms people from being defensive in those situations? Like, what allows you to break through that defense barrier to actually make progress?
Well, it's an old customer service, sort of trick. You sandwich it with compliments. Like, hey, that was a really good effort right there, or I could really understand why you saw what you did. But talk to me about the decision making there. You got to kind of mitigate it. You have to also learn who your audience is. Some players, you can give them real loud, direct feedback right away, and some players you really got to pull aside and correct it that way. So a lot of that depends on the player, but there's ways to sort of mitigate things, and there's ways for when you're out there on the practice field to not get emotional yourself and to not oh God, I just went over that. Like, you have to understand that mistakes are made, and sometimes you can compound that mistake by blowing up. So you have to really understand your audience and really bring some patience to it.
So what's the trick to hiring? Because there's so many strong-willed kind of alphas, if you will. Everybody has their own kind of unique skill sets and areas of expertise. What's been the secret sauce that's allowed such? Because a lot of times when you get a lot of bright people in a room, somebody always kind of has to be the smartest. With you guys, and maybe it's familiarity, I don't know, but what is it that allows everybody to kind of stay in their lane and be led, yet be really good in your individual strengths?
Well, I think that you get a lot of autonomy around here, in my opinion. I think that
well, that's interesting.
I kind of want to, I'll tell people, tend your garden, like make your garden as good as possible. And it was actually something that Coach Belichick reiterated to us when he was visiting with us and sitting with us. He said, "Be the head coach of your job. No one should understand your job better than you do. And don't expect people to come and tell you exactly what to do." Like there's a couple things that I have up in my office. Actually, we just moved, but I gotta put it back up. One is see it, say it, fix it, and the other is FIO, figure it out. And so there's another one. There's a couple other missing letters in there. FITFO is something that sometimes gets but it's really FIO. It's figure it out. But you get you get a good amount of autonomy here to make it as good as you can. Here's your responsibilities. No one's going to hold your hand, but make it great. You're here and you've been hired because of this skill set, or because we feel that there's something that you can bring to the table. And so you want to make it as you want to own your space. You want to be your own head coach of your own position. So there's a good amount of autonomy here. I also think that because, it starts at the top, the head coach, I can tell the head coach if I think something's not right or something's wrong, and he's open to feedback. And I think that goes up and down the line. There's a certain point where a decision needs to be made, but anybody, whether it's a graduate assistant in recruiting, can speak up and say, "Hey, I think we could have a really cool May weekend, or a weekend that we've never really had an official visit." And next thing you know, we're doing it, and it turned out to be really good. So everybody's, we do a thing called chamber in recruiting where everybody's in the room talking about a particular recruit, and everybody votes. Everybody raises their hand and puts a number in the air, and you have to sort of stand up and defend your decision.
If that's cool.
And says, "Sean, you were the only one that gave that individual a 1. Tell me why." And you got to stand on your merits, and you got to be able to defend your decision. But seeing anybody within the organization being called upon and their opinion being valued, I think that goes a long way in terms of, in terms of individual development, and in terms of being open to feedback and open to just getting better at your job.
That is incredible.
So Sean, and we're talking to Sean Padden, the GM of Nebraska football. So as you're talking about these things, a word keeps popping in my mind that I don't think you've actually said yet, but basically everything you've said has sort of led to it. And it's conviction, right? Like if you're standing up and defending your decisions, you've got to have a certain level of conviction in how you do your job. If you're being the head coach of your own position, you kind of have to have a certain level of conviction. But then if coach rules allowing everybody to have the autonomy that you're talking about, he's got to have a certain level of conviction to be able to delegate that way and trust the process and let and be okay with the fact that maybe a GA has a better idea than he does. Like, where does that level of conviction come from? Is that coming from the top down from Coach Rule, or like how does that type of culture get set in? And it's seemingly pretty quickly here at Nebraska.
It's tough. Yeah, I guess it would have to come from the top down. Would probably be the best. It's in examples like Chamber, where everybody has a voice, or when we go through an itinerary for an official visit, we've got sort of everybody in the room, and people can sort of raise their hands. And if you're the one doing the itinerary, you feel like people are throwing hand grenades on your plans. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, they just blew that whole itinerary up. Like, oh no. But you have to be open to it, and you have to be ready for it. And if there's a way to do it better, we always say minimize the moving parts, but you don't want to sacrifice proficiency in the name of efficiency. Just because it's easier if we do it that way doesn't mean that that's the way we got to do it. If there's a better way to do it, even if it's a little bit harder, or there's there's a little bit more work, then you do it. If it can be better, if there's a better way to do it, then you try and do it better.
SP, let me ask you something. You allude to, without saying it, self-inventory quite a bit, almost to a person. It doesn't matter if it was Avery or if it's Keith or if it's Schnorr, any of these guys, even Vince and Ryan, who have been fantastic as guys that have you guys have retained through the transition. What is it about, or what are you seeing in the self-awareness standpoint that allows for almost everybody to say, gosh, you know what? And even you said it to me at dinner. It's like, there's just something about this place and the environment and the culture that leaves you wanting to do better every time out. Like, taking self-inventory real time is a very, very difficult thing. You've even got your young bucks being cognizant of it. You got to walk me through. Is that good fortune? Was it strategically planned? Is there something that you look for in personality traits? Like, why is that a thing, even for people that haven't even been here that long?
I would say in the interview process, when we're interviewing people, I do, their standard, what they call STAR questions: situation, task, action, result. I will ask that generic canned, like, tell me about a time when you screwed up. Tell me about a time when you learned something, when you learned something that you thought you had figured out, but you learned something different. Or tell me about a time when your boss gave you a directive that you didn't necessarily agree with it. How did you do it? How did you approach the disagreement, and what were the results? And immediately, some people are ready for it and have an answer, and that's fine. But you can sort of hear the wheels turning over the phone with someone. And if someone doesn't have a good example, like, you've never disagreed with your boss, like you've never, you can bring out that self-awareness, and you can really do that in the interview process. You can really see, all right, is this, how thoughtful is this person about the work that they're doing? Because if we are going to, say like Schnorr or one of the pod captains like Fish or whatever, they have their own area. They run their own boards. They run their own recruiting boards for their particular area. They're like a mini director of player personnel for the two coaches that they're working for. So they're trying to make things better themselves. They work somewhat autonomously. Obviously, Keith gives them the directive and Vince gives them directive, but really they're tending their own garden. They're out there working that area, and not just trying to find players, but to help develop relationships with those players. So because they're going to get that sort of autonomy, it's something that you have to recognize in the interview process. And frankly, we try and get a lot of those younger folks from programs that have a history of developing good young recruiting talent.
So, Sean, as when we're talking about, identifying people in interviews and things like that, one of the things you said when you spoke publicly last week was, when you work as hard as people in this industry do, you have to share the same values. You don't want to be at a program that doesn't share the same values. And so I'm curious how you are able to identify those things in the people and seemingly across the board, right? Like, I've never heard a support staff to assistant coaches to head coaches to players all talk about things in the same way, the way Nebraska has for the last year. Like, how do you find those people that match values? Because you're already here. How do you find the people that match the values that you want this place to be about?
Well, first of all, here at UNL, the hiring process is arduous.
Lot of paperwork, right, SB?
There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of things involved, and it's for a reason, and I think it's a good reason. But I think that process is very good. I also think that a lot of times you rely on a sort of your network of individuals that that share the same values. I mean, that's how Coach Rule and I, sort of became friends, is because we kind of understood, we kind of felt the same approach to the game. But you also rely on your network of individuals. We had a gentleman that was doing some work for us remotely, and he's from Texas, and he had an opportunity to go to Texas Tech, and the folks at Texas Tech gave me a call, and I know those guys, and I know Coach McGuire, and I know what their values are. So when they call me, they know that if I'm speaking on behalf of somebody or speaking for, if I'm stepping on the table for somebody, they know that they know what my convictions are, and they know what we demand here. And so that can kind of, you do rely on your network of people that are like-minded and that you've worked with. And there's sometimes that question, like, do they get it? Oh yeah, they get it. Like, do they get it? Oh yeah, they get it. They're OOU. They're one of us. Meaning, they're going to be self-aware. They're going to work hard. They're not going to be thick-skinned. They're going to be able to take feedback, positive and negative, and be able to move on and not be not have it ruin your day. You got to move on. What's next? It's the same thing that we talk to our players. It all comes back to the lessons that we're trying to instill with our team.
I love it. It's just so matter of fact. And I was kind of trying to walk our listeners through the process and how difficult it is. It's a heavy lift, right? You don't, with getting, Caleb down on Monday, where there's a lot of moving parts, right? A call comes on Saturday. He's out of the house Monday at 8, whatever, right? How do you know without, you don't have to go specific with the player, but the process to get an idea, make it work. Some people are going to be caught off guard, but as you like to say, figure it out, make it happen. How much trust or security do you have in the fact that it's like, this is just what we do? I expect this to be done come Monday at 10:30 when we got a report for academics.
In terms of what then? Can you repeat the question?
So, like, what's the process look like when you let's say you make a decision, like, okay, I want a guy down now, right?
Yeah.
Coach, and nobody's really prepared to do it. You have a short amount of window, but everybody knows that, okay, I'm on, here we go. Like, you can't really oversee it. You just have to trust it.
Well, I think a lot of it, when we first started here and we kind of, as the staff started to build and morph and figure things out, and you don't want to step on somebody else's toes, or like whatever the event might be, it's sort of implied like who's running the show, right? So if it's a recruiting weekend, everybody knows that, okay, ultimately Vince is running the show in terms of the recruiting weekend, but Avery is really getting the things done and dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and Chris is helping with all of the vendors and everything like that. So they know it. So, and everybody comes and rallies to support them. So we all become recruiting operations when it's a recruiting weekend. If we are, say we're traveling, you know what I mean? We've got an away game, or then every one of us becomes football operations people. We now work for Susan Elza and Anthony Crispino on that particular trip because they're going to need us. The head count gets higher for them on a travel day, so we all now work for them. So I think when there's clear lines of like, all right, who's running the show? Who's making sure there's invites coming in? Who's making sure all the logistics are taken care of? Who's handling all of the vendors? Who's running the itinerary past coach? Like all of those different things are defined ahead of time. So we know, okay, we've got this event going on. Everybody knows, because they have autonomy within their world, they have to also know what's their responsibility, and they have to have their ears open to say, oh, did we just move that time? Okay, I got to know there's a cascade effect to every decision, and you have to have your ears open, and you sort of have to listen. And then we use Microsoft Teams. We use the heck out of it, and I can go to Teams and I can follow the official visit tracker, and I can see who's coming in on what particular day or what things have been done ahead of time, or I can peek at the itinerary as it's a work in progress, but I can sort of go take a look at it and see, all right, this hasn't been approved, but I sort of know the direction that we're going into. So you have clear lines of communication, and then you put systems into place that allow people to just sort of blossom within their realm. But you got to dot the I's and cross the T's and follow the process so that other people can track. Like, I can just look somebody up and know, oh, okay, so-and-so's coming in on this particular weekend. All right, good. I don't have to go find somebody. I don't have to go track someone down. And, hey, Devin, do you know when so-and-so's coming in? Or like you know it. You know where to look for it. It's there. And you just sort of follow that process. And if it's not there, I'll go find somebody and say, why isn't that there? That should be put as soon as we have that scheduled. It should go in there so that we're all on the same page. So you put those into place to allow people to blossom.
It's incredible.
Sean, is that kind of where your fascination or infatuation with the chaos theory stuff comes into play? Because you have an idea, you have an end goal, right? You know where you're trying to get, you know where you are right now. You maybe have no idea what's going to happen in the middle, but you make kind of each decision in that figure it out process in terms of, okay, how does this get me closer to my end goal? Like, is that how that all kind of fits together?
Yeah, I think so. It's really, I've always enjoyed studying systems. How does this particular thing work?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was, coaching football, coached football for about 8 years, as a profession. And then I went into the private sector, and I was working for a company that sold infrastructure. So architecture, engineering, construction. I sold CAD software to nuclear utilities, electric utilities, water utilities. In order to understand what they need, you got to understand their business. So I've always, whether it's healthcare or whether it's the infrastructure systems of the world, I've always sort of studied those things. And I think that that's sort of always been my approach, is to take a look holistically and then reduce it down to its parts. And then how do all of those parts work together? The gestalt of it all. What is the totality of it, and what are the parts to it in order to study that? So that's just sort of always been, I don't know, a curiosity of mine. My watch history would probably frighten a lot of people in terms of like what I'm watching on YouTube and stuff. Like, this guy's the biggest dork that ever lived. I don't know what to tell you.
I told you the other day, you make being smart cool. It's kind of weird.
I don't know.
That's Sean Padden, GM of Nebraska football. Sean, we appreciate your time so much. Hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Great. Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Hey, appreciate you.
Hey, go Big Red.
That's right. That's Sean Padden, Nebraska football's GM. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I do a lot of communication on the front end of things with the recruit and their family. And then we always meet as a staff to go over everything and make sure that everyone is on the same page. That's something that, communication is very key in a business like this with so many different moving parts. We have a very large staff, which is awesome. So just making sure that we're all communicating little bits and pieces of important things and key factors and information about mom and dad, and so that everybody's on the same board. Yeah.
Halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, reminding you that using your seatbelt saves lives and prevents injuries, but only if it is properly worn. Make it click. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Really good stuff there from, I really do want to call him coach. I don't know why.
So that's kind of what I say.
Because I know he's not technically a coach. He used to coach.
Man, listen, that guy has headsets on the practice field.
All right, I'm just going to call him Coach Padden. Is that okay? You think that's all right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
so
he's
SP seems too informal still. Like, I don't know him like that.
You can hear why I have such an affinity.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely one of those guys that is incredibly bright, but doesn't have to tell you how smart he is all the time.
Yeah.
You kind of just pick it up from the way he operates and the way he talks. I could do another 20 minutes with him because
you guys, I said this off air.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you just hit him up, and because I think they think we're okay as a show,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm just gonna say that. And you guys could spend 2 days together and you would lose track of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so unconventional, but unbelievably smart.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I want to talk to him about, right? He had this really kind of unusual path to where he is in his career. You know, he mentioned being in the private sector. Those guys always fascinate me. The guys like that's part of the fascination I had with Mike Leach, right? He was a lawyer or had his law degree, whatever, and he's like, I'm going to be a football coach. It's like, wait, what? Like you want to? And it was a long time before he made any money as a football coach too. So it's like, yeah, this other thing that you could be pretty good at, and you're a bright guy, and like, you're going to go to Iowa at a D3 school and not make any money, and like everybody's just cool with that, and then you follow this thing, and he ends up being, you know, kind of one of the more innovative minds of the, you know, 21st century in college football. And like guys like that always fascinate me. The guys that have unorthodox paths. And then we didn't even get to talk about one of the things I really wanted to ask him about, where like he never intended to be here this long.
Yeah, I wanted to. So I felt like he kind of broached that topic with with Gin Pop.
Yeah.
Not to go all prison on you. But it is fascinating because I told you, it even caught me off guard when I went down there a couple of times. I'm like, you're still here?
Yeah.
And at that time he said, well, I've got, you know, 220 resumes to go through. I was just like, what?
For support staff and whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were just getting started with beefing up the staff. Now, since then, it's become much bigger. I mean, security's bigger, support staff's bigger, on the field, strategic placements.
Well, we heard recruiting yesterday, 20 plus people on the recruiting staff.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around.
That's
why, like listening to Avery's, Shane, can you do me a favor? Can you cue Avery up again? Now, you tell me, Ravi, you're bright. Does this sound, is there common language in this? Shane, hit the clip.
Same clip?
Yep.
I do a lot of communication on the front end of things with the recruit and their family. And then we always meet as a staff to go over everything and make sure that everyone is on the same page. That's something that, I mean, communication is very key in a business like this with so many different moving parts. We have a very large staff, which is awesome. So just making sure that we're all communicating little bits and pieces of important things and key factors and information about mom and dad, and so that everybody's on the same board. Yeah.
We've heard that, right?
Yeah, and everybody says it a little different, but then you'll kind of pick up key words and you're like, oh, I've heard that one before. And then you go, oh, I've heard that one before. It reminded me. So one of the things that I wanted to get to, and maybe we'll save or we'll just roll this in the 9 o'clock hour too. But so Vince, when he was talking yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think this has to do with Sean Padden. I think this has to do with what Avery was talking about. And I don't remember who asked the question. It might have been Sip, but I don't remember. They asked, what do you think Coach Rule's doing right from a retention standpoint? And this is what Vince Ginta. The U always throws me off.
It's okay.
Vince Ginta always, or this is what he said in response to that question. Honesty and family. That's it. It's real simple. Be honest with people up front. He does a tremendous job of setting expectations. How do you set expectations? By communicating.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what to expect when we're all, and you know what to expect, being on the same page, right? When we all are honest and operate in a family environment, people are going to want to stick around. They're going to know we have their best interests at heart. Maybe they didn't get to play a lot this year. There's going to be more playing time in the future. I think at the end of the day, though, honesty and family.
Yeah, I don't want to go back and reset the home versus I told you when he took the stage and he's talking to Sanders Jr. and Scholl and I mean and Nick Clayton, where he's saying, listen, I'm not here to sell you on the University of Nebraska. I'm here to help you find a home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to help you find a home because I believe homes are about family. Let me tell you about our family. It was incredible. It was like I didn't know the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say I'm far from, I know I get people give me a hard time about being starry-eyed over Coach Rule. But believe me, there isn't anything that I haven't been through. So I can smell BS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Pisces, so I understand manipulating and being manipulated
mm-hmm.
and playing to strengths and stuff like that. So, I was floored because I'd never really heard somebody string together a house versus a home versus family, and just the level of being honest from Canuck to Vincent Carroll Jackson to James Williams. And keep in mind, I'm not new to this. Like, I've seen it. Like, I talk about it all the time on the show. He just gives it body and a frame of reference to say out loud. The family thing is huge. Well, it's the way that, and you said something a couple months ago. You're like, well, sometimes people use family as a way to
excuse toxic behavior.
Excuse toxic behavior. And because they're so authentic, right? It's like you can tell a recruit, hey, you're a good player. We want to invest in you. I think you can do X, Y, and Z. We're the best place for you. If you go someplace else, like here and here, they will chew you up and spit you out because of this, and this. The best case is to be with us because we've taken the time to do this, and this. We want you to feel good about this. Now, understand full well life is about choices. It's just about, can you manage the consequences? That's where we're at right now. Does that kind of make sense with what I'm saying? That's what he'll say to somebody, right? Hey, I know such and such thinks the world of you. Let me recalibrate. This is kind of what we think of you. This is what I foresee for you. Be careful and be cognizant that it's not like that elsewhere, because how much time have they invested getting to know your personality traits? Who says that?
That's one of the things.
Who says that?
Not a lot of coaches. I know that.
Not willing to roll the dice to have somebody walk out and say, you're all wet.
Yeah. There's this thing I do because for whatever reason, and I can't imagine why, a lot of my friends come to me when they have
I have no idea why.
Life decisions, things like that, whatever that they're trying to work through, right?
No idea.
And
you got them on payroll?
I've tried to get to the point where, like, yeah, I obviously have opinions on what they should do, right? But what I try and do isn't tell them what to do. It's, hey, I need you just to fully understand the decision you're making, right? So if you make decision A, you've got consequences X, Y, and Z, right? If you make decision B, you've got consequences 1, 2, and 3. As long as you are aware and can live with whatever consequences you choose,
act accordingly.
That's fine. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
I'm the same.
I just want to make sure you're not making a decision out of a place of ignorance because you couldn't remove yourself emotionally from a situation to see what it actually was.
Somebody can tell me, hey, don't call me again. I'm not picking up the phone. And I'll say, that's fine. Just make sure that you understand the long-term ramifications of that.
Yeah.
And once we reach an agreement, then we can just act accordingly.
Vegas B. Edwards coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now, Vegas Insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
Were they using the cream cheese to butter the bagel?
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, wrapping up hour number 2 on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. B, what's going on?
What's happening, fellas? Good morning.
B, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing well. I'm vying for Uncle of the Month honors.
Okay.
Back over at my mom's house again. Did my niece's lower school graduation yesterday, and we've got my nephew's middle school graduation today.
Wait, are you the cool uncle? Are you like the fun guy?
Yeah, my sister has a shirt for me. It says Funkle, Funcle.
Why am I not surprised? Every day is a good day for B. Edwards. You got the give back clause too, right? So you could take the littles for a little while and say, "Oh, hey, here, you can have them back."
Exactly. Fun. We went to Chick-fil-A yesterday, then the ice cream place, and then the younger niece was starting to get a little fussy, and so that was the give back time.
Yep. Amen, brother.
Hey, that's
Amen.
This guy that I'm sitting next to. Ravi coined the phrase to me when he goes, "Yeah, kids, they're just a tough hang."
Actually, I think you've told me he said tough hang before. I don't know if it was reference.
That's what it was about.
Okay, I don't know if it was reference to something else, but tough hang. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, it's listen, you're a better uncle than me, B, because I started spending time with those kids. I just buy them like one really nice present a year and call it good.
There you go.
That's kind of my move now.
Oh man!
Speaking of tough hangs, the Pacers had kind of a tough hang against Boston, getting into overtime and then blowing it in late fourth quarter and overtime against the Celtics. But you like them on the plus side this time. They're +9. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. And here, let me go to the live odds, make sure that's still what it is. Yeah, it looks like 9 pretty much across the board. And the over still at 224.5. A couple of offshores are 225. So I don't know that I like one more so than the other. And I usually like to kind of vary the amounts rather than have the same amount on two games, or I'm sorry, side and total of the same game. Because, if one gets off to a bad start, I feel like you're just trying to get a push, sometimes by halftime, which is no good. But I just like them both a lot. So let's start with the Indiana side of things. So they got blown out early in the year by Boston when Halliburton did not play. But in the 5 head-to-head meetings since, Boston's 3-2 straight up. The Pacers are 4-1 against the spread, and obviously shoulda, woulda, shoulda, be 3-2 straight up. But they blew that one the other night. Now, am I a little worried where their psyche is after blowing that? Yeah, kind of. But I just think they're playing well, and it's like they're too young to worry about it, I think. And then we've got the game 2 history for Boston, in the last 2 series. And for the year now, the Pacers as underdogs are 29-18-2 against the spread. Boston at home in these playoffs only 3-4 against the spread. And Boston's last 15 is a double-digit favorite, 5-8-2 ATS with 4 outright losses. I'm going to go with Pacers +9. And then in terms of the total, well, just for starters, I don't know how long they've been keeping these offensive efficiency stats, but these are the number 1 and number 2 offenses in NBA history in terms of offensive efficiency. I don't think that stat goes back to the 80s or anything, but anywho, so 6 head-to-head meetings this year, combined scores of 259, 234, 219, that's the only low one, 264, 253, and 261. And even with a low-scoring second half the other night, still went over with 245 left if you had the early number. But even if you got the bad number late, an hour before tip, it still went over with 157 left in regulation. So I'm on over in Pacers, and I threw a little bit on +325 money line, but that's a smaller play, obviously.
I know you used to cap. You like to cap the numbers, and you could do this for so long because you don't always get in the weeds. But like when you're watching these two teams playing, you watch Boston and how prolific they are. At what point do you say to yourself, "Yeah, but," right? Because they seem like the consummate "yeah, but" team, but all they do is keep winning.
They do keep winning because they're more talented than everybody else. But yeah, it's hard to trust this team because like those game 2 clunkers we were talking about, which they still won both their series 4-1, but yeah, they're kind of hard to trust. And Tatum has got to quit settling for threes. He's got to just attack the basket more, in my opinion. And
I'm with you.
Can I be totally honest with the Jason Tatum thing here? Like, I just
Yeah.
don't think he's that guy. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think he's that dude.
Yeah, you're like in the big moments.
Yeah, like I just don't think I think he's gonna put up 30 points a game for his whole career and always be a guy that you're like, if he was the second best player on your team, you'd never lose.
So, but whose team is it?
No one's. That's the problem.
Right.
Like I think Jaylen Brown has the mentality, but not the talent. I think Jason
Interesting.
Tatum has the talent, but not the mentality.
Interesting.
And you can't those two can't have like an amoebus child and have an actual 1A basketball player.
I mean, is Indiana going to have 21 turnovers again? I ask this every week beat or our NBA guys. Like, how do you cap Halliburton?
Right.
You talk about an enigma wrapped in a riddle.
Right. I don't know. Not as much so as Tatum, maybe though. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Box Tatum in for 20 some a night though. Like,
yeah, the box score is going to look the same for Tatum every night.
I told Ravi, I was joking with him. I said, "Do you remember that stretch? It was probably in, I don't know, February, where Halliburton had like 3 or 4 games where he had like 40 some assists and no turnovers." And
yes, I remember.
Then there are these stretches where he can't dribble the basketball.
I mean, what is he doing there with 27.1 seconds
No
left?
idea.
Not even defend it. And then he took a quick 3 with like 55 seconds left, and I think it was 15 or 16 left on the shot clock. They're up 3.
He acted like he knew a couple of his guys that used to bully him in high school had Pacers on the money line, so he wasn't going to let them win.
And I tell you, he was as chill. It was as chill, as laid back as he could be in that post game presser after they just gave that game away.
I know. Totally wet the bed.
Is there any part of you that's like, hey, they shot 20 fewer free throws than Boston. They had an asinine number of turnovers. They didn't play that well. They got off to a 12-0 start, and it still took them wetting the bed to actually get that game they should have fouled up 3, and they still had a chance to win in overtime. Like, can you spin it that way for the Pacers and be like, Boston shouldn't have won that game, and there's no reason to believe they're going to play any better.
Yes, and I think that thought process is outweighing any concerns about their psyche after blowing the game. I think that that is my thought process, that they know they can hang with this team and they know they can beat this team. And maybe not in a 7-game series, but they know they should have beat them 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And I think Pacers will play well and cover. Whether they win or not remains to be seen.
All right, B, let's move on here. I know this is we were talking about some college football future win totals the other day, and I don't think we got to Ole Miss, who is one that you have a little bit of an affinity for. They had a great offseason, especially in the portal, and I'm a big Lane Kiffin guy anyway. How are you feeling? That number's it's a pretty healthy number at 9.5 last I saw. How are you feeling about Ole Miss?
Yeah, I love this team, and I tell you, they've got the schedule that really works for them. Since the SEC split into divisions, which actually no longer exist now, but that was 1992. Ole Miss has never made it to the SEC championship game, not once. Boy, this is a great year for it. You look at the September schedule, and I love Dave Clawson at Wake, but he didn't have Sam Hartman anymore. I mean, their September schedule is an absolute joke. They're going to go 4-0 in those non-conference games. Then they've got Kentucky at home, and Kentucky's going to be pretty good, but I mean, I'd make Ole Miss like at least an 8 or 9 point favorite right now, if not more. That'll make them 5-0. Then they're at South Carolina. They're going to win that 6-0. Now they go into LSU. That's a big swing game for them. So we'll see on that one. But even if they lose that one, let's say they lose that one to go 6-1, they've got 2 weeks to prepare for Oklahoma at home. Oklahoma does not have 2 weeks to prepare. I think they win that. They've struggled at Arkansas, but Arkansas is down this year. I think they win that. That makes them 8-1 going into the Georgia game at home, which they're anywhere from a 4.5 to a 7-point underdog at various books. So let's say they lose that one, and I'm not conceding defeat there. Let's say they lose that. That makes them 8-2. They get 2 weeks to prepare for a trip to the Swamp, while the Florida's in a murderer's row of games and doesn't have 2 weeks. I think they win that, and then they get the Egg Bowl at home. So I mean, at LSU, I can't remember if Ole Miss is a 2.5 point dog or favorite. Let's see. They're a 2.5 point dog. But let's say they lose those 2. I still think they go 10-2. And I don't even know if they get challenged in those 10 games other than maybe Oklahoma at home. So I like over 9.5 for Ole Miss.
B, we're up against it next week. I'm vibing with you. I want to get into Missouri because anytime you start out with Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vandy, and UMass is 5 of your first 6.
Yep.
We got to talk win totals, man. We'll get into Eli Drinkwitz and the Missouri Tigers next week.
Sounds good, guys. Y'all have a great week and weekend.
Thanks, B. You can find him at majorwager.com, Vegas, Vegas Insider as well. B. Edwards, we'll talk to you in a week. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
At the end of the day, we when we look at our program and our standards, we have a brand and we have a set of values and standards that we're going to live by, and they're on our wall, right there. They're not just written down; they're printed and they're on the wall, and we live by those day in and day out. So that's one of the great things about working for Coach Rule. And again, that goes back to why we don't lose quite as many players as maybe some other programs, because the standards are there, they're written down, they're followed up on, they're enacted every day.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's TB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And if your yard is in any kind of condition like mine is after the last few weeks of storms and everything, you need to call Durkin Designs, 402-779-4444. They have you covered, and they will have your yard looking in tip-top shape once again. They've got you covered whether you need retaining walls, paver patios, water or fire features, lighting, cleanups, maintenance, whatever you need. Durkin Designs has you covered. They also offer free estimates and designs. Trusted professionals with over 50 years of combined experience. That's 402-779-4444. Give Durkin Designs a call. I wanted to return back to something that Vince Ginta was saying.
Return of the Mac.
Return of the Vince.
Oh, Vince.
Ginta.
Got you. Not Cam.
No. Cam Mack?
Yeah.
Cam Ginta?
You love Cam Mack.
He
was your favorite ball handler. That's my buddy, Degenerate Schoening. Aaron.
Yeah.
He loved Cam Mack.
Nah, pass.
No, he didn't. He'd pass too. Because he'd pass because Cam Mack wouldn't pass.
Somebody's got to, right? We don't really have.
It wasn't Verge or Mack. Nah, Mack was okay.
Verge was the one I really hated.
Hate's a strong word.
As a basketball player, sports hate. Not like I don't know him as a person.
Yeah.
When I say I hate somebody, unless I'm getting real specific about like Dion or somebody.
I don't know. You were pretty serious off air a couple of segments ago, so I'm like, dang.
Oh yeah, no, that one I do hate.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's real. Because I know that person, right? It's like sports hate. I'm just like, I don't like how they play, right? No, yeah, what we were talking about off air, that was real. That's real hate.
My man.
Wouldn't pee on him if he was on fire. But
wow.
Listen, I stand on business.
I don't even know if that would put a fire out. Everybody says that as like their go-to.
Yeah.
But you don't stream enough to have that
No,
even
it's
matter.
not enough volume of water.
So I never really got the analogy other than it was just crass and disgusting.
Yeah,
it's not going to work regardless.
No, probably
Even
not.
if you did, it's not going to help.
Maybe if it's just like a little fire, like just like a little ember.
Yeah, then you just pat it.
That's the point, though. It's
like Padden,
like our guy Coach.
Yeah,
because we're gonna call him Coach because
SB.
That's a little too casual for me.
And right now, as we speak, they're in their staff meeting.
That's good, so they won't hear anything we're saying about him.
Called yesterday for 9 a.m. Be there.
So I wanted to return to the thing we were talking about with Vince Ginta and what he was talking about with the retention reasons, right?
Yeah.
Because the reason I keep coming back to this is a couple things. Because I do have this, I get bristled up when people use the word family. I really do. Because of how often it's misused and used to excuse bad behavior, right? But there is a key element that's missing when you're talking about family in the sense that makes me bristle up, and when you're talking about family in the sense that they're talking about, right? And I think they keep kind of, because they don't, when you're talking about, hey, Coach Rule's talking about, hey, it's a house versus a home, talking about family being a toxic word people use in corporations versus a word people mean when they really care about each other. What's the X factor here that we're not actually saying out loud that makes those differences?
I mean, that's pretty wide open. You could go communication. You could talk about the depth of feel. You could talk about the mutual camaraderie. Like, I mean, that's pretty open ended.
You're in the neighborhood.
Well, I'm sure
it's pretty simple. And I don't think they like to say this because it's like big macho sport or whatever. It's love. The difference between a house and a home is love. The difference between family being a toxic excuse for bad behavior and being a place where you can have open communication and you trust that people do have your best interest at heart is love. If you and then it goes back to, where does this all come from? I'm trying to figure out with Coach Padden where this comes from. We're trying to figure out with Coach Rule where it comes from. And then he says to you, what does he say to you that you shared on air yesterday about how he feels about this place?
Oh, he loves it.
He loves it here.
Yeah.
He loves it here.
He's like, can we talk about that for a second? I was like,
I'll talk about that all day.
I was like, can we? Like, I have to know the frame of reference. Like, you know what I mean? But he's pretty passionate.
I'll talk about that all day because I think that's one of the reasons. And until you had told me him saying that in those words, I was, I've really tried to find a frame of reference for my affinity for Coach Rule. And there's a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, I think he loves it here as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Did you see his tweet yesterday?
About
his wife's business?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. He never uses his platform like that.
Nope.
Yeah. And we're over here scared that he's going to Penn State. Get out of here.
He
get out of here
loves
with
it
that.
here. That's the thing. And that's what filters down because how do you like in a traditional nuclear family, right? Where does
I don't even know what that is.
That's like your mom, dad, siblings, whatever, right?
No, I'm teasing.
Well, I'm just trying to give. Not talking about like Oppenheimer's family.
Context. I see what you did.
Chernobyl.
There.
Yeah.
You have an affinity.
I like nuclear stuff. I really do, but like
it describes your temperament.
A little explosive.
Yes.
A little volatile.
Yes.
A little meltdowns. But the thing that it starts at the top, right? Same thing with Coach Rule. If your mom and dad have a really good relationship, you're much more likely, not without a doubt, but you're much more likely to have a healthy family environment. If your mom and dad love being parents, or your mom and mom, or your dad and dad, or whoever, right? I'm just using this as examples, right? If they love being parents, you're more than likely.
If the adults in the room are very good at nurturing.
If they love being there.
Let's just keep it right there.
Yeah. If the adults in the room love being there,
yeah,
you're way more likely to have a healthy family environment, right?
Let's go up.
If the adults in a football coaching office love being there, the chances of your environment being a place where people want to be go way up.
Yeah.
I asked you this a couple days ago, right? When's the last time somebody loved it here as a head coach?
And
loved it.
You were referring to kind of that agape, right? Unconditional.
Yes.
Like take the good, take the bad. I think it was Coach Solich.
Because I was thinking, and this is my fault, I kind of skipped over Coach Solich in my brain, which is a mistake. Because I was even going back to like T.O., and you obviously have a way better feel on this. To me,
maybe.
I don't know him, but anyway, like, and I was a kid.
Sometimes I don't either.
Well, yeah, you kind of had like this reverence for him, right? But it was kind of a different.
It's a little strong.
At the time, right, when you were playing for him, it was more of a reverential relationship than a. But I would go, okay, I think he loves the job. I think he loves mentoring young people. Did he love the whole thing?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I never got the sense that he loved what came with the job.
Right. I think he loved teaching, right?
I got the sense he loved the university.
Yeah.
And he loved his players.
Yeah. But
that came across loud and clear.
But he could have coached high school football and been pretty happy.
I don't want to speculate. And I know you're like, come on, man, don't be a wiener.
No, do whatever you want. It's fine.
I mean, that's an interesting point because he always felt like this is totally retrospective, but I always felt like he missed his family.
Yeah. I genuinely.
So, there were these occasional times where he would say, my wife is paying a price being with our kids and I'm gone a lot. And, I have my own kids. He would weave these things into talks. And I'm young and I'm not near as dumb as I am now. So I'm just like, what's he saying? Like, is he letting us know that because he's here, that's showing how much he loves us?
Yeah,
and
he's sacrificing
he's
something to be
using
here?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's cool. He's using like this sacrificial lamb. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So, but I think I do think he loved the university and he loved his players.
Yeah.
So, do I think Coach Rule loves the university and loves the players? I don't know so much about the university, but I do know he loves being in Lincoln.
Yeah. He loves the state.
I do know he loves the state of Nebraska. I do know that he loves his players. I don't know how he feels about the university because I don't know if he's made it about. I don't know if he's made it about that. I think he fell in love with the state.
Which to me is.
He does know Nebraska has lore
Yeah.
and tradition, and it's ultimately going to stand on business when it comes down to it. But I think he fell in love with what it can be again.
Yeah.
Like he's going to kill me, but it's not like he's listening or cares, but I think he's a romantic by heart. He's a tough guy that is very, very competitive, but I think he enjoys loving.
He sees the good.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that.
Right?
That's safe. It's concise, and I think it's extremely accurate.
And it's consistent with the other things that we talk about.
That's 100% true. That's a guy that sees the good.
He sees the good.
Yep.
And he comes to a place, and that's all I want from people that come to Nebraska. If I'm being totally honest,
You know what's interesting? Because that seems to be contrarian to your personality.
Yeah, people think I'm a kind of an a-hole.
But I don't think there's a thought process to it. I think you're going to be very reluctant to let people in there. Now, once they're in there, they're good.
Yeah, good to go.
Because I told you what my buddy said. We were over at Cobalt the other day in the parking lot. And he goes, I think I got Ravi figured out.
Yeah.
Right? And he talked about the differences in how we look at things. He said you're the he didn't call you the optimistic pessimist. He said you're typically always waiting for the other shoe to drop from your vantage point. Right? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think I call it being pragmatic rather than pessimistic.
So
but
I'm pragmatic.
Yeah.
Like I would describe me as very pragmatic. I've heard people say it. DJ was, oh, Mr. Pragmatic.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but as an empath, like I have those variables, which makes me hard to deal with. Right. Because if I feel what you feel,
yeah,
and it gets overwhelming,
sure. Yeah.
like I can shut down.
Yeah.
Right.
I've
So
had to learn how to dissociate from that a little bit because I used to do that a lot.
don't ever get an education.
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
Like it's
a lot.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it.
Right.
If I'm being totally honest.
4 times in the last 8 days, I've had players at our house till 8.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to shut it down. But anyway, I do think he enjoys seeing the good, and he's a visionary.
Mm-hmm.
He just has this weird balance of staying in the moment because he's a realist. And I think most of it is through his own experience.
Yeah.
I think Carolina changed him. I think him being, him wanting to be Matt Millen at Penn State changed him.
And learning that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, but but again, it's like we talked about yesterday, which I thought was fantastic. I wish we could revisit it in multiple capacities. Like you can eat the meat and spit out the bones.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's, and it's weird because I do think.
Just imagine if athletes could stay in that wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Tatum wouldn't have pressers and worry about what his mentality is.
Nope.
That
was the miracle of Michael Jordan, was his ability. I mean, obviously he had the physical talent to be there, right? But there's been Michael Jordan was special as a physical talent. He wasn't a one-off.
No, I know.
Like he was really, really high at level, like probably 99th percentile. But that means there's a whole other 1% that are in his neighborhood, right?
You're in my yep.
But what made Michael Jordan special, and this is where like the Phil Jackson Zen Master stuff all came in, right? Is he had the ability to stay in the moment and not worry about negative consequences.
You know who else that is? And he gets overlooked in his generation?
Who?
It's Kobe.
Kobe, yeah.
He wasn't any more gifted physically than Tatum.
No, Tatum's probably more gifted physically, I would say.
Although it's very close.
It's close,
but neither were elite level
athletes.
Side to side, explosive, go by. Like Kobe was explosive, don't get me wrong.
Especially young Kobe, yeah.
But like
Vince Carter more talented than Kobe?
Yeah.
Physically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not the same career.
No. Different mentality.
Yeah. And there's a mentality of being able to say, okay.
Not to say Kobe wasn't a good athlete. I mean, he was explosive. He was little.
Probably top 10%.
Yeah.
Physically.
In the NBA?
Maybe.
I won't argue that because we'll get off the point.
But he was
I'm going to come back to that.
That's fine. We can talk about it later. But
he did get drafted out of high school.
He was a good athlete. He wasn't special or unique. It was a mentality that made the difference, right? There's a ability, and this is what I think I have in life. I certainly didn't have it in athletics because I wasn't good enough for it to matter. But I have the ability to understand the negative consequences that can happen without dwelling on them, which is not always something I've been able to do, right? Yeah. Because I can see, that's why I talk to people all the time about believing Nebraska can be this national champion again, right? Because I understand the challenges that present this state and this university and this football program, but I believe the good things that are out there can still get you where you want to go, right? I think, honestly, I think I'm one of the more optimistic Husker fans there are because I believe that way.
First one to put a hard number out there and talk playoffs.
Playoff 2025.
You said 6. So I want
2026. My bad.
Yeah, I was going to say.
My bad.
You know, I'm a numbers nerd.
24 to 5. Yeah,
I should have let you fall into that and just.
No, 2026.
But I do look out for you.
By Dylan Raiola's junior year, I've got them as a college football playoff team.
Yeah.
That's 3 years from now. That is as optimistic as I've heard anybody be. And I'm not doing it just to have it. That's a thing I actually believe, right? I understand the pitfalls. I understand the challenges. But being able to know the challenges and operate in a place where you still see the good, that's what makes Coach Rule. That's what makes Michael Jordan. That's what makes Kobe Bryant. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes different from other people. A lot of people have talent. Not a lot of people have the ability.
And when you combine both, you get extra special,
Yes.
right? That's when you get Mahomes.
That's when you get Mahomes. That's when you get Jordan. That's when you get Kobe.
Well, I wouldn't count Jordan, and I wouldn't count. I wouldn't count.
I mean, you're talking about like a very good talent, not an unmatched talent, but you're talking about like a very good talent with an elite mindset.
So the closest I can think to elite talent
Mm-hmm.
with elite mindset is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's not Jerry Rice.
No, he didn't have elite talent.
I'll give you another one.
Jerry Rice was slow.
I'll give you another one.
What?
4.57 isn't slow. It's slow now.
Fair.
Deion Sanders.
As a player.
Elite level mindset, elite level talent.
Yeah.
Brady wasn't an elite level talent.
Nope.
Montana wasn't an elite level talent.
Nope.
I don't think Jordan was an elite level talent.
I'd probably push back there, but I don't think he was a unique talent. I do think it was on the upper end of talent.
Yeah.
Reggie White?
I don't know enough about his mindset, to be honest. I really don't.
No, he played 18, however many years.
He played
at a
forever.
High
Yeah.
level.
So you can assume.
I'd entertain that.
He's probably an elite talent.
Lawrence Taylor, elite talent, not an elite level mindset.
No.
I'm just trying to go back to
it's hyper rare. But listen to all the guys we talked about, right? What's the thing that we're saying, oh, they don't have an elite this? We're talking about talent. It's easier to survive on an elite mindset without an elite talent.
I mean,
I know, but we don't scout for mindset. Because
some do though.
They try.
Okay.
They try.
So your boy,
Yeah.
right? You talk about stand on business.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing to me when I tell you about a good high school athlete going to be a good college player?
They are low maintenance, don't need their hand held.
Do I ever talk about a physical ability?
Nope.
I don't. What do I say? Keep what?
Keep doing what you're told.
Keep showing up.
Yeah.
Like you're in like that, you're in my wheelhouse because I know how it goes.
Yeah.
And I know how coaches I just know how coaches think.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? It's not even just
you need a minimal baseline, but I don't even know what it is.
I think it's way lower than people think.
It is. Mike Piazza got drafted in the 62nd round.
Doesn't even exist anymore. The 62nd round doesn't exist anymore. Hasn't for a long time.
So I don't know what to tell you about talent, right?
Yeah.
Like the Tom Brady combine pictures are legendary. I don't know what to tell you about talent. Nikola Jokic, I don't know what to tell you about talent.
I'll tell you about talent. So I coached basically.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Like
I coach basically NAIA level basketball.
I don't know.
So we're minimum.
But I will tell you that Nolan Ryan is different.
Yeah.
Than like Fernando Valenzuela, right?
Yeah.
If I'm talking talent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's too ambiguous of thing. Like fudge, man. What's the difference between Derrick Rose and Milt Wagner?
Yeah, I don't know. Physically?
Yeah,
physically?
Not like what's the difference between Derrick Rose and Stephon Marbury?
I don't know.
Maybe nothing.
Stephon Marbury, a little better jumper.
That's a skill.
I know, but it's talent, part of talent. Skills are talent.
I don't want to get into that.
That's fine.
Like, what's the difference between Tiny Archibald and Allen Iverson?
Era.
Oh, I'll take that. That's actually creative. Well done.
Thank you.
Well played.
I try sometimes.
Well played. Quick thinker though, so I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But the talent thing is, But it's not to say you can't be good,
right?
Right, because you have to be good.
Yeah.
Right. Deshaun Singleton is highly, highly talented.
Yeah. But elite mindset.
We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Possibly.
Right.
Tommy Hill, elite mindset. Getting there.
Boy, is he going to be an interesting case study.
Getting there.
Is that
from the transformation we've seen? It's leaning in that direction.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah,
we're gonna get him here. Like, I got some things in the works with him.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic case study.
Yeah.
T. Hill, it may be the consummate nature versus nurture discussion.
Yeah.
He was almost
gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Left for dead.
Off the team. suspended.
He is now an example of a guy when they do like their deck scanning and doing what you're told and weight and caloric intake, that he's now used as an example. Do you realize
he's a poster child for doing what you're told?
Listen, what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this right here. 2 years ago, T. Hill once played in a game weighing in the 170s.
What's he weigh now?
208.
Is he any slower?
No. Listen, what? In the high 170s.
He's put on 30 pounds.
It was so sporadic. He wouldn't make it. He is an amazing story if he wants to tell it. Because I don't have a good answer. He defies my normal logic, but he's coming.
So you don't go from almost getting kicked off the team.
Listen,
to being a guy.
Remember when my man walked off the field playing DV, went to offense,
Yep.
didn't get a chance to return a kick. He rolled the ball out of the back of an end zone because his teammate kept him in the end zone. That was just 2 short years ago. He's now Nebraska's best prospect to get drafted in the 2024 draft.
And he's a poster child for what they do.
He's fascinating.
If it's not an elite mindset, he's on his way.
He's fascinating.
We'll continue with the discussion more on Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We are joined now by John Shea. He's an assistant coach for your Omaha Supernovas. He also coaches the USA volleyball team as well. Coach, how are you this morning?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Good, good. Welcome.
Coach, I got to ask you, because we're talking a lot this morning about kind of weighing mindset of an athlete versus talent. And I know that's something that you think a lot about in your career and as we've talked previously. And I'm curious, you're down 2 sets last week in the semifinals in the PVF championship. Like, how were you guys able to instill the mindset in your players that you were able to turn that thing around so quickly and end up playing for and winning the first ever PVF championship?
I saw that we were not stressed. We were more frustrated in how we were not playing well. And we looked at it as a wonderful opportunity. Throughout the year, the part of our training, our mindset is, this is a wonderful opportunity. And here we are. And, we've been through some pretty good battles. So at that point, we were just trying to find a way to turn the tide. And as a coaching staff, we're just trying to find 1 or 2 things to just, shore up our passing a little bit more, hit a little bit better in system, out of system. And next thing you know, we turn it on and we become this monster that we're capable of.
So we've been on this whole, the mental approach versus the physical prowess almost all show. And you just mentioned in system versus out of system. And I get out of system is a little bit like golf, right? Like you kind of have to envision shots and be able to kind of shape and shift, but yet you still have to have the ability to pull a shot off. When you're playing and you're out of system, is that more to do with the situational IQ and your mentality, or is it the physical ability to pull it off?
It's all processing. It's also experience. For example, you have De La Cruz, who's been through everything, and she has 6 different shots she could hit out of system, versus Brooks got 2 shots. Mm-hmm. And so basically, anytime that we said De La Cruz, we're like, okay, well, she could score that way, she could score that way. It just the experience of seeing it and also being through it, and also her speed of processing is really high level. Her her legs are not like before. I mean, I coached against her for over a decade, and I remember her at one point being a top 10 outside hitter in the world, which is very hard to be in that in that group. To now where she could see it, but she can't physically do it. It just she could process it and take care of business. And Brooke is still in the process of learning how to do different things, and even sometimes when she could process it and do it, she can't execute it the way she wants to. Whereas like, Derek Cruz could do it. Betty's she's saying, I talk to her sometimes because it's just fun to talk to somebody that had that kind of experience of, what do you see on this situation? What do you see in that situation? How are you processing it? And we just start laughing in the middle of a conversation.
Coach, is there a way for you to help younger players? You know, you give the example of Brooke Nuneviller versus Betty De La Cruz. Like, is there a way for you to help players start to process things quicker? Or how does that development work? Because, you know, you keep talking about, hey, it's all about processing. What can you do to facilitate that?
I think one, you know, as a coach, you have to build a relationship with the player and kind of know where they are in their journey. I look at every single player, see where they are on their journey. I tell them, I feel like this is where you're at, and this is where the middle of a journey could be, and this is where the end could be. And it's never a perfect science. And it starts with a lot of film. They have to be willing to watch a lot of film themselves. And, you know, Pete Carroll has this thing, every Monday when they watch film, they call it Tell the Truth Monday. A lot of players really don't want to watch themselves in tough situations and learn because it's not an easy thing to do. So you could teach them to watch film. That's one thing that I did with the group. But they really had to watch it on their own. It helps to watch it with a coach where the coach walks you through it. But a lot of great players, they know how to watch film on their own, process information, and then get better after that. You know, I'll give you a really good example. There's a guy, his name is Murphy Choi. He played for the USA men's national team and was the number one recruit in the country and was National Player of the Year. He will come into this back when we had like data volley where, you know, only the coaches had it on their computer. He will go into Jeff Nygaard, you know, two-time Olympian's office and just watch film on his own and take notes and learn 30 minutes on his own. And that guy became Olympian. They helped us win a bronze medal. You know, so that's a story for kids. I tell everybody this, that, you know, you want to be good? Well, be like a Murphy. He was already the top recruit, and he was seeking for more knowledge, understanding, and processing. So watching film is a really crucial component.
John, is that kind of the difference? Sometimes we would ask Coach, you know, what the keys were. Like, did it boil down to execution or familiarity? Because you see your opponents so often, and you can kind of get into rhythms and kind of, you know, you get tendencies. So what's ultimately the difference if you're going to see an opponent 4 or 5 times or 6 times in a 2.5 month span to get you over the top? What is that? Are those the keys? Is it the execution?
Yeah, it's the understanding execution. And I always go back to the greatest skill in volleyball is how you read the game, your ability to read the game. And then once you process it, then you can make an early choice and execute at a high level. You know, the difference sometimes is 1%. It's just sometimes you just don't get to execute exactly the way you want. And that's a difference maker.
We're talking with John Shea. He is an assistant volleyball coach for Omaha Supernovas, as well as an assistant on the U.S. national volleyball team as well. Coach, we've been talking a lot about, as DB said, we're talking a lot about, you know, mental prowess and mentality versus physical prowess and talent there. You've had to, obviously, as part of the Olympic team for a really long time, I'm sure you guys have had to make really tough decisions in terms of who to take with you on the squad and who to keep on versus who doesn't quite make the cut there. If you are down to a couple players and one has elite level physical ability, but mentality isn't quite always there, versus somebody who's a pretty good physically, but they've got elite mentality, where do you tend to want to go with those two options?
Team chemistry. I'll give you another really good example. One Olympics, we brought 3 setters, and normally you bring 2 setters, and that's kind of the roster makeup for Olympic team is usually 2 setters, 4 outside hitters, 3 middle blockers, a libero, 2 opposites. But that Olympics, we felt like team chemistry-wise, that third setter could really help us in different aspects. And, you know, that Olympics, we won a bronze medal. So that's a really good example. Or another Olympics, we brought 2 liberos. And so because one of the liberos became a serving sub where we could have her serve, that's talking about who's one of the assistant coaches now. And we just actually talked about that story yesterday. That, you know, because we're going through the roster right now and we have so many talent in the gym. We have girls that are so much more physical now, but it's just more the roster makeup of chemistry and their ability to adapt and, be versatile, so to speak.
Coach, you mentioned to me that that Wednesday night semifinal is probably one of the top 5 matches you've ever been a part of in an illustrious career. You've won Olympic medals. You've been part of really great college teams as well. Like, where does winning that inaugural PVF championship, where does that fit in with a really great career that you've had?
I mean, it's forever in the top 5. I have thought about that match every single day since that match, because you just don't get those things. You're lucky. Maybe I feel like in your lifetime you get it once. And I've had a very, very fortunate career, with World Championships, 2012, first gold medal we won as a USA women's national team ever, to all the other medals that I've been part of. That's in the top 5. It's just the way the season, how difficult the season was. It's a lot of unknowns, and also to be down 0-2, and we just need to turn the tide. We're like, God, we're gonna make a couple tweaks here, a couple tweaks there, and then the girls came through. Ultimately we can make adjustments, but the girls were awesome. And once we won that match, I told some of our staff behind the scenes, I told Grant, I'm like, man, if we get on these guys early, we could go home 3-0 tonight. And then we did. So that was, it was like a beautiful journey and a beautiful dream. I'm still dreaming about it every single day. So.
Coach, it's been great to get to know you this season. Good luck as you get the Olympic team ready this summer. And hopefully we'll see you back in Omaha next year. But either way, we appreciate the time that you spent with us here today. And hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Coach.
That's Coach John Shea from the Omaha Supernovas. He'll be with the Olympic team this summer in Paris as well. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I take deep pride in my job, and every day I walk into this place, I know the responsibility that sits on my shoulders, being a former player, and also what it means to be a Nebraskan. So I take deep pride in that every day I come into this place. I push these guys to be excellent. I stay here late because I want to be great. I want to be part of something special that Coach Rule is building, and I want to be around here to build this place back to where it needs to be.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, wrapping up a Thursday on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, on the Pillar Exterior Stage. And reminding you, get out to Warhorse Sportsbook. And whether that's in Lincoln at the casino or Horseman's Park here in Omaha, get out there because it's the best place to place your sports bets in the state of Nebraska. I like keeping my money on this side of the river. You know, I'm not a big Iowa guy, as many people know. I am a big Nebraska guy, though, and I want to make sure that we take care of Nebraska. One way to do that, listen, you want to spend a little cash, try and see if you can win on NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Maybe you like Vegas, B. Edwards +9 on the Pacers tonight. Head over to Warhorse Sportsbook. You can get that action in, because you can place bets on nearly every major sporting event at Warhorse. Go to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook to get a full list of details and house rules. That's Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory. I did want to get back into the Nebraska and Rule thing a little bit here. We got into it with Sean Padden, GM of Nebraska football, this morning. Obviously, we talked to Rule a little while back. You know, you are fortunate enough, you share some stories with me about some of the way Rule operates with you and your family since you got Caleb down there. And one of the things that we talked about in that 9 o'clock hour that I didn't even mean to really, but it kind of really stuck out to me was how Rule sees the good, right?
Yeah, you said that, and I that changed my tenor.
Like,
because I wouldn't have said that.
And the reason, because, and that's how we kind of got off on my tangent on how I see the world. But that's what I like from people that are here.
Is that more from that's how you aspire to be?
Maybe.
Like your work. Okay.
It's aspirational.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there are some ways that I am like that. Like, I'm optimistic about Nebraska football. I'm optimistic about certain situations, and, you know, I'm certainly much more that way in relationships in my life than I used to be in seeing the good. But it's always something I'm working towards, right? Like,
I got to ask my man Denny how he described your personality.
Yeah, I think he called me an optimistic pessimist.
But it was smarter. It was smarter than that.
Yeah,
like
probably
the way he worded it.
But the reason, the thing that I gravitate towards Rule, among many other things, but in that particular sense, and it's the reason I got so mad at Trev.
Oh, here we go.
Is I'm going to be mature. I'm going to try at least. I'm going to try real hard. Is Coach Rule sees the good of what Nebraska is and can be.
Okay.
Right? He sees it as a place that we can get back to national championships. He sees it as a place. I mean, how often does he say, like, you've got everything in the world you could want here?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, what else could you possibly want?
I'm rolling out 5-6 players for interviews. You eat good. It's good living.
I mean, not just us,
nice.
but like the people that in his program, the people that work with him, the people that work at the university.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, hey, 1890, they've never said no to us.
Yep.
Right? Board of Regents, every time we talk to them,
Never said no.
They never say no to me, right? He's like, what else could I possibly want? And let's be honest here. For a lot of the college towns and a lot of the locations where these people are, Lincoln's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know people think Nebraska's the middle of nowhere.
I think players think that too. So
once they get here.
Sanders' parents, like, oh my gosh, man, this is incredible. Like, I thought we were going to get dropped off in the middle of cornfields.
Yeah, cow towns.
No, he actually, this is 2024. He actually said that.
Yeah.
This was 3 weeks ago.
I know. That's still what people think of Nebraska, but like you're telling.
It's incredible. Like, even kids being recruited don't think like that because the internet and Instagram and camps are so accessible.
Well, and the staff does a really good job of explaining what Lincoln is.
And they did fly them into Omaha.
Yeah, that helps, right? Yeah. So you fly into Omaha, you see, it's a good sized city.
He called you a pessimist wrapped in optimist clothing.
See, that makes it feel like I'm pretending, and I don't think that's true.
No, I think so. He's a philosopher.
Okay.
I think he thinks sometimes you fight your inner self based on your
that's probably true.
Your experience.
That's probably true. That's fair.
Yeah. It turned into a 20-minute conversation in a parking lot
about my mentality. That's fine.
Well, we were just talking about like our interactions and our skills.
Yeah.
Like as it comes across on radio.
For sure.
Yeah.
But like, every time Coach Rule talks about this place, it's glowing, right? We have what could we possibly ask for here that we don't already have? And if we do ask for it, they're going to say yes.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I know that whatever the stadium project is right now isn't a top priority to him.
It's still bugging me, but he doesn't care. Yeah. Like,
because if it was a top priority for him, it'd be getting done.
And he'd say something.
I guarantee
I just wish we wouldn't have gone back and forth so many times.
Sure. But that's what happens when you have an AD leave and whatever, and like you've got some tumult there, right?
Tumult.
Yeah, right. But different than Tybalt, who's in Romeo and Juliet.
I got a confidant named Timo.
But that's to me, that's why, and I said this when he left. That's to me one of the things that made me so mad at Trev, because
you wanted him to see the good.
Yes,
I know,
and he's a person that professed to love this place publicly and pretty aggressively professed to love this place. And then he comes out and his actions speak louder than words. And he comes out, and when he leaves and he does that interview with, I don't even remember who it was, but he does that idiot interview that made him look terrible.
Stop.
It was a bad choice.
Like,
he should not
like milk.
He should, yeah. Like it is hot out. Milk was a bad choice.
We'll just see where it goes.
Like he got to the point, whether it was his circumstances, whether it was his mindset the way it's always been, or whether he just got fed up, where he couldn't see the good in Nebraska anymore. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking to pretend like there is no bad.
Not to split hairs, because I'm not happy with him right now either. But I think it was like, what do I not want to put up with? I don't know if it's necessarily about seeing the good. I think he saw the good. I think he felt defeated. So that's where you get into the he took his ball and went home thing.
Yeah, I have a hard time. If you still see the good, I think you have a hard time feeling defeated.
Okay, but we're acting like you had never seen people that you just wanted to hang in there and they didn't.
No, for sure.
Like, it's a thing.
Yeah. But usually the way I feel, and I could be wrong, like I'm willing to entertain not being right here. The way I feel usually when that happens is they let the negatives of the situation outweigh the positives. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's real, and it's the right thing to do to rip cord and bail, right? I get that. There are situations where the bad is sometimes outweighing the good, and you got to go, right? I'm the first person to be like, hey, when people start being toxic to me, I'm going to get those people out of my life. I don't need that, right? So I get it. But I think a lot of times when people are not able to hang in and you want them to, the negative becomes outsized in their mind compared to what it really is.
Kind of what we were talking about yesterday. And that's why I was tweeting to you about
not being able to get over a negative experience.
Yeah. Sometimes you see it in relationships.
All the time.
Players sometimes have to see it like when you play poorly for a stretch. It's one of the things that I talk to Tristan about all the time is there's some stretches, but that doesn't mean the good and that the capable and that when you showed you're capable has never happened before.
Or that doesn't exist anymore.
Like it still was a thing.
It's still in there.
Right? Like
whether we ever see it again, I don't know. But it's still in there.
I just think the mind is interesting like that when we act as, and it's really the difference between elite level athletes and not. We talk a lot about athleticism and people taking me to task over Jordan and this, that, and the other. That's not really the point.
No, your point is right. Regardless of how we feel about Jordan as an athlete, your point is correct. What made him special was the mindset.
Yeah, and you can, like, that's a thing that if conditioned, it's like a skill. You can exercise it.
We can build on it too.
Right? Like you can exercise, you can get it.
You can get better at it.
You can get it stronger. Right.
How about
Anthony Edwards is different in Minnesota mentally than he was at Georgia. Right. Still the same talent.
And still the same guy.
He's exercised his mind.
Yeah.
So just because you've been someplace doesn't mean you have to live in. You have to live there.
How about Ben Hart?
Oh, that is man.
Ben Hart
Okay.
didn't just have a stretch of bad play.
Yeah.
He had years.
Yeah.
Years of bad play. People didn't want him here.
Didn't stay there.
Didn't want him on the team, wanted him to leave, had no interest in him whatsoever.
Yeah.
Guess who we are counting on, relying on, and counting as just not even a problem.
A guy that will be drafted.
A guy that will be drafted. Has his talent changed at any point?
I'm with you. That's why I tell these guys kind of at the high school level, and I cheer for everybody, even though you could be an opponent or not. Like it's more than just about having good talent.
Yeah,
talent is fun.
It helps,
but it's
not all of it.
It's not even most of it, to be honest.
That's kind of what we're getting at today, right?
It's not even most of it. It helps. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it really does.
But it's.
But if that's the question I asked John, the Supernovas coach, John Shea, right? If you have to choose.
Oh, you heard him. Yeah, he said he vouched.
Yeah. If you have to choose between talent and mindset,
he said you got to be able to process. You know what I thought?
And he said team chemistry.
You know what I thought of when he said that?
What's that?
My mind immediately went to the analogy I gave to Luke Gifford and Coop talking about Gifford. Explosive tester, a lot of numbers. Sometimes you don't see that on the field. I want him to process in his mind and free himself the way that he tests versus how smart he is. We got to get those things to coalesce.
Yeah, because unless you do,
he's immediately who I thought of. Because Ike's a dude.
Because unless you do, you're going to run in crazy good numbers. You're going to jump and you're going to broad jump and whatever.
People are like, oh man, Gibbs this. I'm like, and you're a fantastic tester.
And you're going to look slow on tape until you can play free.
He's a dude.
We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up the week. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.